into playing as well.
One of the things I've heard levelled at cricket, certainly cricket in England, is it hasn't always been that welcoming to, dare I say it, non-white communities. You know, if I look at the problems John Holder has cited, if I look at Rafiq in Yorkshire, clearly there is the supporting and there's that side, and there is the playing side. We'll talk a little bit about how, for example, the Cricket Supporters Association and yourself are kind of tackling a similar problem from different aspects. Yours very much on the playing and participation side, theirs on the spectator side. But is that a problem that's genuinely there? And by doing what you're doing, can the ACE programme really be a key part in shifting attitude as well as getting that participate? I know the two things go hand in hand, but you clearly have the opportunity and are part of creating an attitude shift actually in the game, as well as to bring people in from outside it. The two must go hand in hand.
Yeah, you know, and just like you said, there's changing behaviors and shaping attitudes. That's what we were, you know, it's sad that cricket is like that for the best part of how many years in this country. And I can give you a personal example. I remember I went to a few years ago. We had the national conference at Lords. Over 200 people in the room for one of their programs. All the kind of senior management within cricket, from Cricket Scotland down to Cricket Plymouth. I walked into this room and I looked around and I was just like, wow, is there any other black people in here? There's not many. Where's the Asian people? You know, where's the women? Where's the Asian women? Where's the black women? You know, it's just like, you know, unfortunately, cricket is predominantly dominated by old white men, and you know, a lot of the thoughts and the processes.
He says, talking to an old white man.
Yeah, I know. And I don't mean that by any offense, but it's just the reality of cricket in the country, that all the senior management, across all the county boards was predominantly, I'd say 90 to 95% white men, and and it's just trying to diversify that and trying to change that. And through this program, we would want to do that. And even on the spectator side, like I said, through being based at the Oval, the charity's based, and obviously the history says Surrey. We've always been in conversations that when the West Indies would come in, this, like, the summer just gone, what we was putting our kind of feel on what that might look like for fans. And it's sad that you go back to the Oval used to be a heartbeat of having a big history of West Indian fans coming in, because there's a real connection there. You had the music, the food, everything else, and the same Oval that embraced that community was one of the first the first grounds to stop allowing the music to come in for fans and stuff like that. So and over time, then you see the Barmy Army developed, and the trumpet guy and everything else, and it's like, well, you stopped that for one community, and now you've allowed it for another. And in recent times as well, you got the Barahat Army comes in with the drums, and it's a fantastic atmosphere. And the Bangladesh fans, when we had the ICC Champions Trophy and World Cup and stuff, it's massive. And now it's just trying to, unfortunately, by stopping a lot of the black British community who are supporting the West Indies, coming in with the conchs and the horns and the music and everything else, he lost a lot of people. People thought, well, I can't go to the cricket and be myself and enjoy it, so they end up stop going. And I guess that's filtered through on the spectator side, and hopefully through programs like ourselves and others, and like you mentioned, we can get more fans coming in and making them feel like that the Oval and other county grounds and are places for them to watch cricket and enjoy. And regardless of whether it's the other thing is, I don't want it just to be, well, West Indies are here, so let's get all the black people involved to watch cricket. Let's be encouraging the communities to watch it all the time, because a lot of especially the young children, they're British. A lot of them have never been to the Caribbean.
That comes back to the role models that they can look up to actually playing the game.
Like we got a young scholar on our program. His favorite player is Joe Root. You know, he loves Joe Root, and he's not. We're kind of managing his expectations. You're never going to get to play to that level of Joe Root, but actually we found over this process he's really good in front of the camera, really good speaking on camera, and you might get to in a year or 2 years time you might actually interview Joe Root, and that is actually a realistic opportunity that we can develop through some of the media channels and links that we have. So it's just trying to empower the young people where we can, and these children their influences are British, their culture, a lot of them is British, and it's just trying to make sure that even if it's England against Australia and New Zealand, we're doing what we can to encourage more young black people to come into places like the Oval to feel like they can watch cricket and have a good time.
Well, let's just come on to for a moment, if we may, a couple of things which probably aren't at the.
And we are back. It's Grubby here in the central missionary position, live from the top of the stand in Chennai. Good day. I'm joined by Jules Farman, MBE. Hello, Jules. I think you might have to unmute yourself. How often have we heard that the last few months? Oh, still can't hear Jules. Can we hear her? And Al Hobbs as well. Hello, Al. How are you?
Grubby, I'm not gonna make you feel like there's only you and no one else can. It's like, where's everybody gone?
That would be quite funny. I was trying to think of some suitable initials to put after your name. We've got Jules Farman, MBE. Al Hobbs, SOS.
How about Egypt?
No, I won't hear it said.
I will. BBC, ITV, DFC, and Bar. Jules,
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay!
Yay! Hello there. Hope everyone's well.
Very good. All the better for seeing you, of course. So England 454 for 4 at tea. Root's gone past his 200. He's only 5 runs behind Alex Stewart in the all-time England batters list now. I think he's ticked off about 3 or 4 in recent times. He's gone past Boycott, Peterson, Gower, and now, as I say, just 5 runs behind Alex Stewart. A little way to go to catch up with Graham Gooch, and then another 3,000 or so to overtake Sir Alistair at the top. But have you seen it this morning, Jules? Have you been following at all?
Following bits and pieces, but yeah, it's all going well. I mean, Root, I'm not going to say, I was about to say something and I thought, no, it's going to completely jinx it and he'll get out, but
no such
looks
thing.
set fair.
Say it.
I'm a massive jinx, so I'm not going to say anything. But I've actually been impressed with Pope as well. I mean, he's a good player of spin, more generally, but I think it's good. He's come in fresh on this tour. There's been a lot of chat about how India are going to dominate, and okay, he's coming at a bit of a comfy position because of the situation that England are in at the moment. But even so, you still have to go out there. Dan Lawrence came in at 3. He didn't get any runs, but I think it's good to see that Pope is, and hopefully Lawrence will get some runs in the second innings. So now it's looking pretty peachy for England. It's a bit of a case of what do India do now to try and get Root out. What do you think, guys?
It's almost like you've got to wait for it. It's like, are you happy now? Have you got enough runs? You got enough runs? As impressive as Root has been, I think Ollie Pope coming back from a shoulder injury from no cricket for ages. I was quietly impressed with how he kind of coped once Stokes came in. Don't get me wrong, lots of runs for 4 makes it easier for a number 6 to come in, but I think he's applied himself pretty well.
And it's the right place for him in the batting order, 6, I think, for Pope at this stage of his career. He might be a 3 in years to come, but I'd like him at 6 for now. And it's interesting to compare and contrast Stokes, who's had no cricket, and the way he batted, with Pope, who's had no cricket, and the way he batted. I mean, Stokes, just a genius, really, when you think about how good he looked. Just beautifully, aesthetically pleasing and smooth. And Pope, by contrast, a bit scratchy, which is perfectly understandable. But he's dug in and he's doing a good job supporting Root. We've probably got some jingles, I should imagine.
His voice voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a picked, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
Just love the accent.
We got a poke. We got a poke. Take a good hard look at Solly Poke. Poke. It's Solly Poke. It's Solly Poke. Take a hard look at Solly Poke.
And now then, Marty Bumrah, oh, you're bowling again, aren't you? Oh, I thought as much.
I love that jingle because I think I mentioned that we should have Marty Bumrah on air once, and then it magically appeared. So that pleases me no end. Now then, here he is, Marty.
Your mouth to God's ears.
A direct route. It looks a little bit stiff as he bowls that first ball after tee. Jasprit, and Joe Root is forward in defence and playing it up to mid-on. There is no run. 454 for 4 is the score. And will Root be eyeing that 300, or are we too far off for that to be the case just yet?
Incredibly optimistic there, Grabby. I like it, but that's quite optimistic.
Why not?
91 runs to go.
Knuckle tells us it's already the top score by an Englishman in India. So those double hundreds of Gatting and Fowler that we mentioned prior to tee were obviously baby double hundreds. Here comes Bumrah once more. He's over the wicket to Root, who plays this one defensively from the crease, covering up to mid-on, and there's no run. We have a slip in place at about 1.5 4 second slip and a gully. Those are the close fields. Al, you were saying something?
I was going to say, are you just saying only 201 and only 207?
I'm sorry, Smokey. You were
They're
on
not-
the line. That's a foul.
They're not daddy doubles, are they?
Fancy getting out after you did all the hard work to get there, and then what happens? Honest,
He's thrown it away. Yep, so that was a no ball there from Bumrah, who's looked a little bit ring rusty straight after tee, a bit stiff. A few oil deposits required in the joints, perhaps. Looking like evil Edna from Will-O-the-Wisp. This is a bit short and wide, and it's just guided expertly through the covers by Root off the back foot. Should for 2 there are indeed. He moves on to 211, furthering that record that he's recently taken, and a score to 457 for 4.
So here's the question. There have been 15 no balls bowled so far in this innings. The majority that I've seen have been front foot no balls, mainly bowled by the faster bowlers. What's going on? Test level cricket, you've got no balls.
It's not good discipline, and particularly when I saw Nadeem bowl one. It's not great if you're a fast bowler. If you're a spinner, it's nigh on unforgivable, and you should be shot. Here comes Bumrah once again, just outside the off stump, and Root allows this one to pass through. Rather dies on Rishabh Pant. It goes through, and as I said before, the England bowlers will be looking at that slightly variable bounce and licking their lips, I should imagine.
well, it's always best to get your batting done first, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, runs in the bank and then get on. So high scores at Chennai. He's now got that record as well, 211 by an overseas batsman, I should stipulate. So he's just gone past the recently deceased Dean Jones, who scored 210 here in the 80s. This is defended out into the offside by Root. Very watchful of that delivery. And Bumrah, remarkably playing his first test at home, is having to work here, as you would expect.
He has been by far and away the pick of the bowlers, though, hasn't he? Really.
Yeah, he's a couple of early breakthroughs. He got Dan Lawrence before he was able to get going, and at that point it was looking quite rosy for India. But since then, it's been almost all England. The ball looks rather sorry for itself as well. Looks like it's been chewed by a dog.
It's just the work of a really poor magician, isn't it? It's just like, and the ball goes through the hoop, and the ball goes through.
Yeah, the handcuffs. The old ball and handcuffs. Here's the ball, here's the handcuffs. The handcuffs, ball handcuffs. Here comes Bumrah once again, just outside the off stump, and it's steered to backward point by Joe Fist. For the younger listeners, that was an impersonation of a comedian come magician called Tommy Cooper. Look him up; he's very funny.
Spoon jar jar, spoon jar jar.
Just go and get you a fez out and be sorted.
I want to see my doctor the other day. I had to. He's ill. Don't get me started. Joe Root has 211 against his name, and this one he is on the front foot and steering it effortlessly through point to steal the strike. He moves on to 212, the score to 458 for 4. And do we have any socials?
We do have socials. I mean, it's nice to know, Grubby, that you sound like you're from 1974, and that's where our pop culture references are as well. So El Chopanos. Bad selection by India, really. Should have both had Kapil Dev and Subhash Gupta in the playing 11. Gareth Hudson, the both of them set long before his gentrification. Peter Ward's retweeted something which is the Hanforth Parish Council Zoom meeting, but it's performed by an indie band as opposed to being performed by David and I earlier. Leah, you'll have to unmute yourself if ever there was a 2021 quote to put on a Gorilla Cricket t-shirt. My God, this England innings is a very strong 952 for 8 energy now. Please help. That'll be interesting. Mayank is Grubby still commenting live from 1968. Yeah, he is from Whitehall. 1-2, 1-2.
I certainly am, Mr. Chumley Warner.
I say,
on the bowl, Mr. Ravi Chandran Ashwin.
Faced up against the spin, try to cover drive, and there they go again. About LB to Ashwin.
His first ball to Joe Root is turned into the leg side, where it's fielded at short mid wicket, and there is no run. Bowling from the Anna Pavilion end. There's a leg slit or a leg gully in place, which will please Gary Naylor and others. This is defended from the crease by Root into the onside. There's no run. Nakul mentions that both the 300s that have been scored in India were at Chennai. Virender Sehwag, come back to that in a second. This is turned into the leg side once more. It's fielded again by the man at short mid wicket, and there's no run. Virender Sehwag scored 319 off 304 balls, if you please. That was in 2008 versus South Africa, and then Karan Nair, pregnant fifth former Karan Nair, scored his 300 there as well against England in 2016. This is driven by Root in very controlled fashion to long on, and there is a single for him.
I'm just trying to remember, what did Root finish on at the end of the first day? It was 120 something, wasn't it?
I think you might be right. Ashwin close to the stumps and bowls to Pope outside the off stump, and he is stretching forward in defence, dobbing it into the offside, and there's no run. One ball left in this over. Root looking carefree as he leans on his bat at the non-striker's end. This is rather fired in down the leg side by Ashwin. Turned to square leg, and there's no run. At the end of that over, it's 459 for 4.
There's some talk about whether we should have You're On Me on a t-shirt or on a shower curtain. That and other merch available. Is it Redbubble? Is that redbubble.com?
Yeah, it is.
The bear would like to know why it sounds like Grubby sounds like he's commentating in a fishbowl.
I trust the bear to point out some production issues.
He's more worried about the fact that whether your family have locked you in a cupboard.
I wish.
What's going to go on in the cupboard?
Yeah, how big's this cupboard? It's got light and everything.
Root will be facing Jasprit Bumrah, who's into the crease of the shortest run, and he bowls now onto middle and leg, turned to square leg by Root, and they come through for a single.
I'm a bit gutted, Grubby, that we don't get to see your dressing gown chic. So I put on YouTube to get prepared for doing the socials later, and I was like, "Oh, it's a very charming dressing gown you've got working there." It kind of worked the sort of dapper accent you had. All you needed like a sort of like a smoking jacket and a cigar and like
you need a pipe, don't you?
Yeah.
You need a pipe.
Yes. Exactly that. That'd be great.
I would
So
love
we can
to
take it out and
that
point it at the screen.
Make him sound like Sherlock Holmes.
Well, this game is certainly afoot. See what I did there?
Oh.
Yeah, it's all going on.
Elementary.
460 for 4 is the score.
Ooh.
Here comes Bummer bowling to Ollie Pope, who flashes at this one, and it goes between the slip and the gully field and flies away to the third man boundary. Pretty lucky there from Pope, but 4 runs. But that would have been straight to a third slip. I mean, India can't really complain because they haven't had a third slip in place all day. But Bumrah did that thing where he turned around very quickly when he saw it had gone between the two fielders and walked smartly back to his mark, pretending he didn't care, but he does care. This is defended by Pope to mid-on. No run there. Pope has moved on to 28. Root has 214. And England are cruising along at 464 for 4.
I was quite surprised, Grubby, when you're saying that Pope initially in these innings, and I appreciate he's coming off the back of having not played and on that injury, was a bit scratchy, because I always sort of see him a little bit like an Ian Bell type player. He's very sort of small, very neat. So it's just, as he got into, for me it seems like he's got a little bit more into his groove now. It's probably just setting in those initial nerves. But it was just interesting to hear your reflections there.
Full delivery from Bumrah, which zeroes in on middle of the leg stump, and Pope is equal to it. Actually played on the full to a deep square leg, and he gets himself a single. Yeah, I mean, it probably was a little combination of early innings nerves. He hasn't played for a long time, a bit of ring rustiness as well. So I just thought the comparison between him and Stokes, who has also had a similar layoff, was kind of marked, and probably speaks to the genius of Ben Stokes rather than any fault in Pope's game.
The risk of sounding like a sort of tin pot coach, but I mean Stokes has just gone out and played his natural game. Looking at it, what was it, 82 off 118 balls and and 3 sixes. Do you know what I mean? He's just gone out there and smacked it everywhere, and that's what he does. So it's kind of sort of gone to type a little bit as well in their approach.
Yes, although I think it's fair to say, and I think Alistair Cook's been talking about this a bit on Channel 4, that Stokes has really worked or improved his defensive game as well, and I think he's the reason I was calling for him at number 3, if we have a need there, come back to that after this, is a full delivery outside off stump and it's defended by Root back to the bowler. The reason that I can see him batting at 3 is because he has arguably the soundest, I mean Root aside, the soundest batting technique of anyone in the England batting lineup. He's definitely improved that over the last 18 or 24 months.
Yeah, he really has actually. I think initially when he first came into the Test side, and I was an absolute cynic, I was like, well, he's a one-day player, he just bashes it around and that's about it. But to see him, like you say, develop and be able to defend has really developed, I think, his all-round game actually in Test cricket.
Completely. This is defended from the crease by Root to short extra cover, and there's no run. That's the end of that over. 150 have gone now in this innings, 465 for 4.
Peter Ward says, come for the cricket and stay for the Will-o'-the-Wisp references. Was the Jones Chennai double 100 the one where he had stomach problems, which I think has been answered by our own feed that yes, indeed it was. Let me see. We can't turn back for the arguing only to hear Grubby commentating from Stalingrad in 1975. That's a bit harsh. Phil O'Rourke, it might be enough to do for Ollie Pope. I think Bumrah and Sharma have bowled well with little luck. I think we kind of agree on that one. Angelic,
as Ashwin starts a new over and it's defended up towards mid-on by Ollie Pope.
Angelic Scooters wants to know if whether Red Star Belgrade had just scored in the background.
A full delivery, which is reverse paddled by Pope. He rather premeditated that, but it's going to bring him at least 1. I think they might be on their way back for 2. Yeah, 2 it is. So he moves into the 30s. 31 he's got now. Yes, it does remind me. I can't hear it like you guys can because I'm only listening down my phone, but I should imagine it sounds quite crackly and a little bit like commentary from the second Nottingham Forest European Cup victory in 1980.
Against Hamburg.
Yeah, it was. Now, this is going to be a terrible way to get out for Ollie, but there's not, because... Oh, let me tell you what happened there. He got a full bunger, terrible delivery. He went to hoik it through mid-wicket, got a massive top edge. I thought it was just going to plop into the wicket-keeper's gloves. It didn't. It went over his head and dropped behind him, and Pope has 2 more to his name. No pictures in the scorebook, Jules? Lucky.
A bit. I was just trying to work out actually what happened there initially, because it kind of jerked on the screen. Jeez, yeah.
If you're 469 for 4, that goes safe.
This one is full and turned into the leg side by Pope, counting his blessings there after that previous delivery when he really should have been out if the shot was anything to go by. In fact, Rishabh Pant moved to his right, thinking, when's the ball coming down? And it was nowhere near him. This is defending again into the leg side, and there's no run. That was hilarious on the replay there. Rishabh Pant standing there with his gloves pointing towards the sky, just waiting for something to drop down, i.e. the ball, and the ball was in a different parish. Here comes Ashwin once more, stretching forward this time, Pope, and turning it to the leg side. There's no run. That's the end of an eventful over, 469 for 4.
Yeah, if you're 90 for 4, then that goes straight into the wicket-keeper's gloves. This is the best one so far. Peter Ward thinks that you sound like the Norwegian commentator when Norway beat England at football. Winston Churchill! Lucky Thatcher! Can you hear me?
Lord Beaverbrook!
Your boys took one hell of a beating.
It always sounds a bit like someone from the Caribbean when I listen to that. For some reason, I know the guy's Norwegian, but it sort of veers towards like a Jamaican type accent somehow. Maybe that's just me.
Yes, sorry about that. I did go quite Welsh there. My Norwegian's no good. My Swedish isn't much better, to be honest. Yes, well.
Tack så mycket. That's what I can say in Swedish. Which Gary Naylor will tell you means thank you very much.
Well, I was going to say, bless you, and all who sail in.
Root is going to be facing up to a new bowler, and we'll have a jingle to announce him.
Easier than fried chicken, Shabazz the team. A better spinner you've never seen. Shabazz the team.
Nicely flighted delivery to start with. Root is back in his crease and playing it effortlessly back up the track. There's no run. You know that word shabash that they often shout? Shabash, shabash. It's like his first name is very close to that.
Mm-hmm.
Shabazz, shabash. And this is driven up to long off by Root, and a very comfortable single ensues. Very pretty looking trophy that the teams are playing for. I don't know what is it called? Just called the PayTM Test Trophy or something, or has it got a nice name?
It's not the Moose Cup, though, is it? Really? I mean, come on.
Not the Moose Cup, but very few things are. Oh, look, there's a lovely big QR code on the bottom of it. Round the wicket comes Nadeem, and this one rather squats on Pope, but he still manages to play it off the back foot through point and come through for a single. Another one to the total there. Pope to 34, Root now on 215, and the score is 471 for 4. Beautiful sunny day there in Chennai. I don't know what the temperature is, but it looks pretty hot to me. Around the wicket comes Nadeem and fires one in at leg stump this time. Root turns it into that vacant area between square leg and the wicket, and another single.
The ridiculous thing about Chennai is the absolute humidity, so it looks quite crisp. It's just so it's right by the coast, as you've probably seen from some of the aerial shots. It is so humid. You literally wake up out of bed in the morning and you break out in a huge sweat. It's unreal.
Sounds horrible. I'd still like to go though. Pope back in his crease and playing this to short extra. There's no run. At the end of this over, I'm going to do the full Lord Beaverbrook Norwegian thing, because Knuckles was very kind and put it into the chat. So it seems only right that I should respond by doing that. So this is driven to cover. There's no run. That is the end of over. 472 for 4. And here we go. Lord Nelson, Lord Beaverbrook, Sir Winston Churchill, Sir Anthony Eden, Clement Attlee, Henry Cooper, Lady Diana. I'm not doing that there, that's all in Norwegian. We have beaten them all, we've beaten them all. Maggie Thatcher, can you hear me, Maggie Thatcher? Your boys took a hell of a beating. Your boys took one hell of a beating.
There's no easy way to segue onto anything after that, so I'm not going to try.
There is, I mean, going back to the cricket, for people listening for the cricket rather than random impressions, we did have a knucklegram come through, but he made a really valid point. We observed that Bumrah was looking a bit stiff when he was bowling. He's done a 2-over spell, which went for 10 runs. I mean, it's a bit un-Bumrah-like, to be honest with you. It's, you know, he's usually quite conservative. I mean, he's been going about 2.5 and over. It's just, you've got a new ball coming shortly. You've got a stiff Bumrah. That sounded a bit odd, but you know what I mean?
No, he did look stiff. He looked stiff straight after tea. That first ball he bowled, you know, you can almost hear the gears clanking when you see a bowler run in.
It's like the body turning around and going, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
And we are only a few overs away from that new ball. This is turned into the leg side once more by Root, facing up to a new over from Ashwin. And they come through for yet another single.
Interesting then that they've used Bumrah now at the beginning of the session, when maybe another way of looking at it would have been bowl through to the new ball, and then, unless it's going to be Sharma who takes the new ball.
A straight delivery, this one beats the defences of Pope. He's been given out LBW, hitting right in front there. They're thinking about reviewing it. The only thing it could save him is height, I think. It was a quicker one from Ashwin that skidded onto him, beat his defences, took him, I think, on the back leg, right in front of the stumps. Are we going to review it? Have we reviewed it already? I think not.
Nope.
No, I think Joe Root has said, sorry, Popey, it looks pretty good to me. And he's having to walk off, so that is a well-earned wicket for Ashwin.
There was a shake of the head from Pope, which I think was answering the question of did you hit it? That looked like that was going to hit middle stump about 4/5 of the way up.
Yeah, as a Welsh wicketkeeper I once played with once said, when we had an absolute stone dead LBW turned down by the home umpire, he said that was like a certain type of fruit, and that is what I would apply here.
How many accents are you going to do this half hour?
I don't know.
Honestly,
actually,
it's one every ball, isn't it?
Nestler says, I didn't realise Michael Holding was commentating on that football match. Well, just making my point, Nestler, is I think that Norwegian accent somehow seemed to go a bit Jamaican. So there you go.
It's better than it going my Welsh. Messi Jez is having internal contradiction, because he doesn't really want England to win, but only certain permutations and combinations allow Australia to go through to the World Test Championship final. Ravi Nair, I think Grubby's commentary is best described as sounding like it's an enigma wrapped in a riddle inside a puzzle. Mark, leave those headphones in for all my jingle. Thank you, Mr. Howarth. That commentary gold from Bjorga Lillian from versus England in 1981. It's the most memorable moment in our football history. Every Norwegian knows it verbatim from about the age of 3. It's
taught in schools.
yeah. National anthem, that can wait. First of all, I want you to watch this game of football.
So we have a new batsman at the crease, and it's this man.
Pryor ain't no loss, 'cause we found someone Sutler. Okay, he can't spell Joss, but he also can't spell Butler. Joss Butler, just because he is Joss Butler. 1 S and 2 T's, Joss Butler.
And he very nearly perishes first ball. A nice bit of flight from Ashwin. He rather waftily tried to extra cover drive it, got an inside edge, and it looped just shy of the diving man at wide mid wicket, just out of reach. So he's off the mark, I think, with 1, but a very sketchy one. Annie, are you listening? I should imagine you are. Gimlet-eyed Joss is in, and he's just about stayed there for one ball. Root is now going to face Ashwin. Again, beautiful piece of flight outside the off stump, and Root respectfully plays it defensively into the offside. Just seeing the Pope LBW again, it was kind of the other one almost from Ashwin, pitched on middle, and if anything, went like a leg break ever so slightly. This is turned into the leg side by Root, who used his feet to that one from Ashwin. No run.
I don't want to start a riot here, but I do want to ask the question: when is Joss Butler going back home, and when is Folks coming into the side?
End of the test.
End of this test?
Yep.
Right, okay.
This is once more flicked through the square leg area by Root. It's fielded and there's no run. It's 474 for 5 at the end of that over. Yeah, I mean, I'm really pleased that Folks is getting that chance. I mean, obviously, as you may know, I'm a huge Joss Butler fan, but I do want Folks in the side because I think he's the best wicketkeeper in the country. Didn't do a right lot wrong when he was in the side. In fact, scored a century, didn't he, against Sri Lanka? So I think he's very much earned the run in the side that he's hopefully going to get from the next test. But that's all to come. The here and now is England are 474 for 5, and India are toiling. And Al has messages.
I have messages. Leah says that Bumrah always looks stiff. Just look at that run-up. Mark Grubby keeping up his usual standard of accent accuracy. Ravi Nair, isn't the third new ball only available after 161 or 162 overs, since they took the second only after 81 or 82? Yeah, we're kind of in that range. Yeah, Leah says, Butler off strike, Ashwin bowling. You know what I want to happen. Talk about starting a riot.
I predict a riot. Nadeem starts a new over, and Butler is back in his crease and playing it with a straight back up the track.
There'd be at least a kerfuffle, wouldn't there?
Skirmish.
A to-do.
All right, you win. This one, he attempts to defend it, but Butler gets another inside edge, and it rolls backward of square on the onside, and they come through for another sketchy single.
Stokes' bat looked like it was all middle, and Butler's bat looks like it's all edge. There's no middle inside it at all, is there? Yeah, it's all edge.
Not at the moment.
That'll change. I'm just trying to work out on the scale of things escalating, what's the difference between a skirmish and a kerfuffle? Is there some sort of rating?
It's got to be a sliding scale somewhere.
Round the wicket comes Nadeem, and back in his crease goes Roots and punches it off the back foot through the offside to fetch himself yet another single. 218 he's moved on to now.
Tony from the green room says nobody dies in a kerfuffle.
It does sound a rather trivial word, doesn't it?
I'd get stuck.
Root turns another one behind square and comes through for Butler does so and comes through for another single.
What goes on in Middlesex home games? The fact that Tony knows that nobody dies in a kerfuffle. What is going on inside those Middlesex home games? I'm a bit worried.
I'd say a skirmish outranks a kerfuffle. I think you could have fatalities in a skirmish. Back in his crease goes Root once again and steers it to point. There's not a run this time, so he stays on 218. Butler's now got 3. The score is 477 for 5. One ball left in this Nadeem over.
So, can I introduce Rumble into this as well?
Oh, yeah. Big LBW shout, and that is also given out by Nitin Menon. And Root immediately reviews. He doesn't think he's out. I think we might find that this is on sort of sliding down the leg side, or just might be umpire's call on leg stump this, but we shall see.
Or is it I'm 280 not out? I'm having one of these.
And I'm the captain, and I'll do what I bloody well please. Thanks very much. I think he's definitely earned that. So we're just watching the replay now. Hits him on the front pad. It did turn a bit. I mean, on the angle, it would have been going down. It's just a case of did it turn enough to be hitting leg stump. It only has to be clipping. He doesn't like the decision, Joe Root. I think he feels it shouldn't have been given out on the field. However, if we find it's clipping, just having a look to see whether he got an edge on it, I don't think he did. Flat line as it passes the bat, so that's out of the equation.
So it has to be on line.
Just seeing if we can get a clue from Rishabh Pant's feet behind the stumps. Often if the keeper's going down the leg side, then you'll find the ball is as well. And he's certainly moving in that direction. Hits him in line, and it's hitting the wicket. So I'm afraid Joe Root's vigil is at an end on 218. Good decision from the umpire.
England's third all-time run scorer depart.
I just knew that Tony would be thinking 477, and sure enough, he's matched my expectations by putting 477 into the chat. Obviously a dodgy score for England at Chennai, he says. It was indeed 477 that England scored 4 years ago, and then went on to lose the game by a country mile. But 477 for 6 on this occasion, and let's see what the lower middle order can do to press on past that total, hopefully beyond 500 from England's point of view.
Absolutely.
What you got, Al? Anything?
Let me just have a look, because there's been a flurry of stuff happening, hasn't there? Mog, the collapse is on. Angelic
I'm just going to
Scooters.
say goodbye, by the way. Goodbye, everyone. I'm off, mate. Yeah, don't take it personally. It's changed, though.
All right, okay. Bye-bye. Angelic Scooters, Vince, 65 off 41, as your Perth-born correspondent, is feeling very despondent. I'll see you later as well.
Cheers, Al. Many thanks, Al, and many thanks, Grubby, as it's Ashwin to continue to Butler, who plays for defensive, and a very warm welcome back to Mr. Tony Bishop and Mr. Nestle Boy.
Hello. Hello, David. Have you had a lie down, David, since you've been off?
I went for a walk with Basil.
Basil?
Yeah.
Marvellous.
That's not a flatmate, that's my dog.
Oh, no, I realise that.
Yeah, I've had a lie down. I've had a cold shower. I've had a cold shower. It's a heated debate. Here's sorry, that's Butler who turns it around the corner. I must go on to full screen here, as I can't see anything. Excuse me for a second. As Tony will tell you what happened there.
Yes, indeed, just tickled away into the onside. Well, that it was indeed a fantastic knock by Root. Quite superb. No doubt about it being out there. It looked out pretty much from the moment the appeal went up, and Mr. Mennon's finger did the rest, as it were.
Absolute gem of an innings, wasn't it? And what a run that he's on. It's extraordinary. Here's Ashwin to Bess, who plays that out to mid-wicket, and there's no run. So a couple of quick wickets for England. 4-7-8 for 6 now. And Bess and Butler at the crease. And it's played out for defensively. There's a short leg looking expectantly there for Dom Bess. Bess plays it along the ground. His Test career, 13 matches.
Someone who bets. You should just save Dom Bess for last.
Save Dom Bess for last. 4-7-8 for 6. Dom Bess is not out. Butler 4 not out.
As Grubby said quite rightly as well, yes, it did fall on 4-7-7. I mean, this wicket is just kind of interesting, isn't it? But you still feel that England probably would have been eyeing 550 and upwards. They should still get there, but quite a lot rests on these two if they're going to do it, I think. And Jos Buttler, before he jets off, not that I want to get you started again, David, he has a bit of a point to prove, I think.
Well,
So
my
it'll be
thinks
interesting.
England could be all out for 500 now.
Well, exactly. That thought crossed my mind. Is 2 wickets can have that impact, can't it?
Nadim it now to resume to Butler, who plays rather hesitantly out onto the offside, and there's no run. So yeah, Butler has won solitary test in this series. He's back to prepare for the T20 World Cup. Here's Nadim. Forward defensively, Butler studiously in defence. And there's been a couple of tweets earlier on wanting to see a Butler kind of T20 cameo here. But I think with that fall of wickets, we're going to see a rebuilding operation from Butler, who's very much in test mode as he plays that defensively and finds a little gap in the covers, and they jog through for a single. Tony, I've been loving your recent output. I love the articles you've been writing on the new improved Guerrilla Cricket website.
Oh, I'm glad you've been enjoying those. They've been fun to write.
The cheese, not the cheese shop sketch, but almost as good as that was your description of the toasted cheese sandwich incident.
Yeah, cheese sandwich gate.
You have to read that, everyone. Go to the Guerrilla Cricket website and read what Tony had to say on that. It's absolutely hilarious. Here's Nadim, and that's well left by Best. There was a nice bit of turn there for Nadim, who's settling into his work now. He's got a lot of experience at first class level in India, and he's found it tough initiation, but sort of warming to his task now. Almost bought his first wicket, and Stokes hold out on the boundary. That's tucked away by Best. He'll be off the mark here as he goes down to ball goes down to long leg for a single for 80, and Butler at the other end now. 480 for 6. Day 2, session 3. He said, reading out what's on the screen. Nice to see Channel 4, that Channel 4 logo in the corner of the screen. For the first time
Been
I've
the
seen
logo
that
since
since
day
2005.
Ooh,
And that's beaten Pant and Butler. I think we can see what the umpire signals here, and as the camera cuts away from him, just when we're about to find out. 481 for 6. I think that was a leg bye or a bye at the end of the over. Nestle, how are we doing on social media?
well, you reminded me with the sandwich gate. I mean, I used to have to carry one of our fast bowlers cigarettes and lighter when I was fielding at first slip, and then hand them back to him after he finished so he could go away to the boundary for a fag. But I don't know how the Australians would take that if that happened. But
were you both playing Test match at the time?
Not quite.
Yeah.
Has that logo been the same from day one, David? The Channel 4 logo?
From day one of the Test match, or from day one?
Of Channel 4's history.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, obviously it was multicoloured in the first instance.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It doesn't often happen, does it?
No, I was under a lot of pressure when I was there to tinker with it, and I actually refused to, because at one stage people wanted to turn it into a word for. I wasn't having it, Tony. But it's played back by a new over from Ashwin. It's played back by Butler, but there's no run there. I think there was a bit of a bit of a bumping into each other, Ashwin and Best, the non-strikers in. 481 for 6, England, with Butler on 5 and Best on 1.
So when I said that Butler was under some pressure, I'll hold the thought for a second.
Yeah, he turns this one. Short leg is in there, and a leg slip for Butler. Leg slip, one slip, and short leg. Sorry, Tony.
Well, I was going to say, he won't want to be going home after one test with 2 low scores behind him.
No.
And England currently in a strong position. It's a different kind of pressure, but pressure nonetheless.
Yeah, so he lets that one hit his pad and helpfully taps it towards short leg. Yeah, he'll want to make an impact in this. He's had a good run of form in Test matches. Ashwin gives that one a bit more air. That's down the leg side. Butler lets it hit him on the pad. Acrobatic stop at leg slip by Rahane. He's had to settle back into his role as vice captain after that fantastic captaincy in Australia. Yeah, we're just watching again the earlier dismissal, and that's Butler lets that hit him on the pad. Looked like it was drifting down the leg side. I've got to find that article of yours, Tony. It was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it was fun to write. You know what it's like with puns. Once you get on a roll, they just keep, which I think was one of the puns.
And that's played down to long on by Butler, and that that's the end of the over. 482 for 6. Do check out the Guerrilla Cricket website, new improved with all these news stories now, news service, and lots of great articles to read. Nestle.
Armchair Cricket Podcast thinks these dual strikes have given India a realistic chance of restricting England to under 550. England could then back themselves to come close to get the score to get away with a draw in this game. So lots of permutations.
Question for Knuckle, actually, while we're thinking about it as well. On GPL, where are we standing? We started the down 263 for 3. Who's in the frame and who isn't? Would be good to know.
I hope you're not asking me, Tony.
No, I was asking Knuckle because he has the
oh right, yes,
the wherewithal at his fingertips.
Yeah, here's Nadeem, and that's defensively by Butler. They do think about a run for a second, but there's no run there. So, yeah, period of consolidation for England. The last 10 overs have seen 2 wickets fall, just 28 runs scored, and it seems a long way from where we were watching in the session with Stokes and Root. That's nicely took around the corner by Butler. Just get, I think that's. Oh, they're coming back for 2. Good running there. Butler goes on to 8. There was one point where we saw Stokes really launching into Nadeem, where I thought, God, this could be record-breaking partnership time. But in the end, Stokes, his one lapse of judgment, really, hold out deep square leg in what seemed like the small hours of the morning. Here's Nadeem, and that's covered up by Butler, and there's no run. Probably was the early hours of the morning.
There you go. We have our answer, David, on the GPL.
I'll let you.
You want me to do
Tony? Oh,
right,
yes,
mate.
And here's Nadeem, and that's defensively covers up by Butler, and there's no run.
Well, we had a lot of entries today, many by Des. Currently 220 runs in the day. So the highest realistic guess is 313, and most points in between are covered by people. So it'll be interesting.
Nadeem fires that one on a bit faster. Butler plays the Joe Root sweep shot, and they go down for a single there.
I'll tell you what, if every time I change my Zoom backdrop, it has that kind of impact, I'm going to be selling this to potential advertisers.
Absolutely.
I'll talk about Patreon next. I'll bang on about Patreon tomorrow and see how that goes.
Here's Nadeem to bowl his last ball of the over. Down the wicket comes Best. Get good footwork there. Plays it down to mid-on. There's no run. England at the end of that over are 485 for 6 wickets.
We're joined on YouTube by Suffin63. As an old white man listening here, I feel it my duty to switch off and let the young in, he says. Well, you don't have to do that. They can still listen with you listening. On Cricket Tracker India, Ramesh Kumar is with us, Hassan Zahari Ok, and Barath Thala and Tanvir Sheikh. Sorry if I've mispronounced your names. I do my
Sounded
best.
very good. Nothing wrong with that, Nessus.
Yeah,
Do my best.
That is very authentic.
I don't do Norwegian into Jamaican like Grubby.
Oh, Grubby.
Or
That
Welsh.
it was like being on with Mike Yarwood, it must have been, guys.
Maggie Thatcher, can you hear me?
And this is me. Here's Ashwin, and the bowls to Butler, who plays correctly and very straight. Right back to him. Yeah, I was glad Grubby said it was Tommy Cooper. I thought it was John Arlott. Felt like a cross between Tommy Cooper and John Arlott, but I enjoyed that.
Tommy
one.
Cooper, what would...
Ashwin, and that's defensively by Butler. Thinks about picking it up for a moment. Quite rightly leaves it to the fielder.
What was Tommy Cooper in reference to?
There was a reference to a magic. They were talking about magic. Ashwin played that's down on Butler's leg, and he plays that down to short leg.
He's in the green room. Grubby thinks about me every time he makes a cup of tea. So he's thought about me 6 times this morning.
Here's Ashwin goes wide of the crease and playing with the angles as he does. Geometric quality to Ravi Ashwin's bowling, or R Ashwin as he prefers to be known.
Ashwin.
Which is nice.
Pant giving some encouragement to the bowler as he comes in now, and that one's down the leg side, and obviously hoping that Butler's going to tap it into leg slip or short leg. There's two men there for him, and Butler's very aware of that at the moment. But another interesting little tussle this between Ashwin and Butler. And no doubt what Ashwin is trying to do. Again, it's on his legs. This time Butler plays it down. He's going to wait for a ball to hit. Ashwin hasn't provided one yet. It's 485 for 6.
Should also point out, sorry, Nasser, very quickly, that's 158 overs finished. Remember, England did 157 overs to get that 477.
Oh, stop going on about 2016.
Well, I'm just intrigued. I'm intrigued by what they consider to be enough. But anyway, I'll let you take up the story.
Calm down, guys. Calm down.
600 at Root once, doesn't he?
He might be pushing that now, but we'll see.
Leia has sent in a redone Channel 4 ident for us to use. It's on the Twitter feed if you all want to have a look at that.
What does it look like?
Is back with us. I'm pretty sure the first time ever that Tommy Cooper impersonation has been mistaken for John Arlott one.
Yes, that's true.
Well, yes.
How tragic, how tragic, how tragic. Just like that.
Yeah, just like that. Tony position at slip as Nadeem bowls, and Bess it is who plays that out to mid-on. So Dom Bess, many people were speculating as to whether he would play in this match or whether Moeen Ali would come straight in. Well, he's held his position quite rightly, took a lot of wickets in Sri Lanka, and would have done much for his confidence if he'd been left out. I guess forward defensive goes Bess, but Moeen Ali is waiting in the wings. Dom Bess will be aware of that, and he'll be expected to take wickets on this pitch. Bess on 1, Butler 9 the other end. Some runs from Bess would be handy now. Here's Nadeem, and that's well left, I think, by Bess, although the bowler doesn't think so. It was pretty close to off stump there, Tony.
It was indeed. So Bess can bat. He's can bat very sensibly. He has runs in test matches, doesn't he? And
we need sensible at the moment, I think.
Well, it's always the same story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, David.
Just plays that one down. The short leg was interested for a moment. The same story, Tony.
Well, it's the same. Yeah, you lose a couple of quick wickets, and the dynamics of an innings have changed. So Josh Butler would have been loving to be coming in on 570 with the licence to thrill. But two new batsmen have a slightly different mindset, don't they?
Absolutely. It's a rebuilding operation, and Bess is very circumspect there as he plays that to mid-wicket, 485 for 6. West Indies have lost 2 wickets chasing an improbable 394 against Bangladesh. 54 for 2 West Indies. Here's Nadeem to finish this over bowls, and that's played back to him by Bess. 485 for 6. England were in a very tight situation here in the match.
It's a maiden.
Leslie boy, what's the action on social media?
The action on social media. The problem with the Root is that sometimes he loses his concentration after reaching a milestone. Just 18 runs after this milestone. Not good, says Al Chapanons. It's hard to criticise Joe Root today for absolutely anything. It really is. You know, I mean, tiredness always plays a part, doesn't it? In any sport, you know.
Well, he had that cramp last night, didn't he? You can see there. It's a long old day in heat.
Physical and mental tiredness, you know. We'll let him off.
Ashwin to start a new over. He bowls to Butler, goes on the back foot, forcing shot from Butler, plays that nicely through. It's wide of mid-off. It's going to go for a boundary. 4 to Butler. That was the first one. Ashwin's just dropped, just gave him a bit. It wasn't that short, but Butler nicely onto the back foot and placed it beautifully. Annie will be happy with that one, Annie, and Grubby too, and all Somerset / Lancashire fans. Ashwin, and then another ball to hit here. Butler goes on the back foot. This time there's a man. No, there's no man out. There's another boundary. 4 runs through the covers this time. 2 short balls from Ashwin, both of them punished. The pressure is relieved with those 2 short balls. Nice shots.
There to be hit though.
They were indeed.
They weren't about manufacturing shots to move a scoring rate along. They were literally sat up and said, "Hit me," and Butler did.
Here's Ashwin. What's his response going to be? This one goes back to his regular sort of mid-leg stump line as Butler plays that defensively. So, yeah,
keeping the pressure on with those 3 men around the bat, aren't they, David?
Well, they are, but just slightly come off, hasn't it, with those 2 boundaries? But Butler again is defensive. Butler's so very aware of those fielders there, the leg slip and the short leg, looking for that little bat pad deflection. Here's Ashwin, and Butler is defensive. So Joe Root, yeah, it's hard to criticise him. 218. He faced 377 balls. He hit a couple of sixes, 19 fours. What an astonishing run he's having. 218. He went past Alex Stewart, third highest England Test scorer. That's played down by, last ball of the over is played down by Butler. He's on 17. Best is on 1. And England are 493 for 6.
Let's have a look what we got here. Messages. Sometimes you just get lucky, or maybe there is something in learn about history. James Vince, Court Marsh, bowled for one at Ahmed, 95. Just flicking over to the BBL. Chris Drew says, I think everyone has forgotten that Joss technically plays for Lancashire.
Yeah, he does. He does. He's contracted there, isn't he? Or he's centrally contracted, but
yeah,
he's on the books of
made a lot of
Lancashire.
appearances.
When did he last play for them?
Well, I mean, did he play any games in the Bob Willis last year? I'm not sure that he did, actually.
No.
Because he was playing most of the time for...
The Dean started you over, and Best, that's coming round the corner, and they're going to get a single there. I think it came off the bat. We'll just wait for an umpire's signal. Pretty sure it did. It did not. Best is on 1, Butler on 17. That must have been a leg bye, as England move up to 494 for 6. So, yeah, we lost Ben Stokes, Cork Pujara bowled Nadeem for 82. Joe Root, LBW bowled Nadeem 218. And Ollie Pope, LBW bowled Ashwin 34. 493 for 6. Ben Stokes played really well today with 3 sixes and 10 fours in his innings of 82. Not yet. Haven't fed the dog. As Nadeem bowls, and a bit of domestic there. Tony, I know that you had some issues with your notes being covered by your cat.
Well, she's doing the same thing again, I'm afraid, David.
And
it's now the bowlers I can't see. It's not the batsman. It was the batsman earlier.
Yeah, I've had to impart the information that Basil has not yet been fed as Butler covers up and plays that forward defensively. He's been walked, but not fed.
It's like commentating with Andrew Cotter all of a sudden.
Yeah, your notes were covered up by your cat's posterior, Tony. Did I get that right?
Basically, which is now you can just about see her tail probably just swishing.
Or was your posterior covered up by your cat's notes? I couldn't sure which way around it was. That's a single to Butler.
He takes very good notes.
It's 493 for 6. So amongst the wickets, you've got Bumrah with 2, Ashwin with 2, Nadeem with 2. 495. Nadeem 2 for 152. He's bowled 40 overs in this match. They could really do with Jadeja, but Nadeem's getting better the more he bowls, and that's defensive by Bess. Hasn't given him anything to hit yet. Bess has faced 14 balls for that single. Ashwin playing the angles. They're showing that on screen at the moment. No doubt the analyst, I think, is back, and we'll be looking at that as we speak. 493 as Nadeem bowls wide of the crease this time. It's given it's much shorter, so Bess has to think about playing attacking shot straight to mid-wicket. He remains on 1, Butler on 18. 495 for 6, Nestle.
George McPherson's on YouTube saying, I'm calling a 500 plus run total for England. I would say around 520 to 530. It would be good if these two hang around long enough to take England past 500, then 550 maybe on the cards. Yep, all permutations are available.
Tony, you must have seen a few decent runs of scores before, but this run of Joe Root's over the last 3 test matches, is there anything that you've seen that compares to that? Wally Hammond, were you there?
I was far enough. I wasn't around to see Bradman or Wally Hammond, David, although there have been rumours that I might have been. But no, I'm trying to think in county cricket who I've seen that will have been on similar kind of
Sangakkara at Surrey.
Sangakkara at Surrey. You just beat me to it. It seemed to me the second he walked to the crease, there was 100 on the cards. So yeah, that's not a bad shout actually in more recent times.
Round the wicket now, Ashwin to Butler. That's no run. Of course, Brian Lara's run at Warwickshire in that famous season. He got his 501.
Alistair Cook.
Cookie. Forward defensive goes Butler, and there's no run. So Viv, yes, Al's mentioned in the green room. Viv Richards in 1976, of course, had that incredible run as well. But for Joe Root, it's just astonishing run of scores. For forward defensive goes Butler, and there's no run. It'd be interesting to look at the percentage of England's runs that Joe Root has contributed over the last 3 tests. Tony, you reckon it's going to be? I'm not asking you to give me the percentage, but it's going to be high, isn't it? It's going to be very high.
It will be, and I'm sure Knuckle, even as we speak, is probably working out the percentage. But yeah, no.
Butler covers up, and there's no run there.
No, it's just, as I was saying earlier, using this as a metaphor for life, there just are occasions when everything's going your way, and it's going for Joe Root.
Round the wicket, Butler getting in a bit of a tangle there, but it goes out safely onto the offside, and there's no run.
Still trying to think of when that's happened, but anyway.
Just astonishing, 218. Clever Money went on his double century this morning, Tony, at 2-1 on Betway. Butler has a little swish at that, and it's not taken cleanly by Pant. There was no bat involved. End of that over, Butler remains on 18, Best on 1, and England at 495 for 6.
Josie Oak being rude about your cat, I think there. Harry Atkinson says, I've just woken up. I'm not dreaming, am I? England nearly 500. And there's a picture of said cat, Suki, treading all over the nose. Very nice. I do like a black cat.
Well, nice if it crosses your path. 490.
Crosses my path every day. I'm not sure where my luck is though.
495 for 6. Nadeem to continue. Long spell this for him, and Bess almost plants his foot down first, doesn't he? And then puts the bat alongside his leg. He's what's the word for that? Plonk. Another word apart from planting. Is it planting your foot? I'm not quite sure.
Plant your foot.
Nadeem coming in again round the wicket. There's a silly mid-off coming back. There's a bit of aggression there from Best, but it doesn't yield any runs. It comes first bounce to mid-on, and the bowler won't mind that at all. Best using his feet and looking to break the shackles here, because he's only scored 1 run in 17 balls, and a little bit of pressure on him to move the score along, because when you come in at 495, that's what you have to do. He's forward defensive, and there's no run there. Yeah, just a reminder, have a look at the Guerrilla Cricket website. It's really got some great stuff on there now. Tony and Knuckle and Hendo, various other people. GuerrillaCricket.com. Nadeem, and that spins away from Bess, who leaves that one outside the off stump. And your interviews, Tony, I love the interview with Chevy from the ACE programme that we were playing at tea time, lunchtime.
Very kind. No, he was a fabulous interviewee, and it is such a interesting programme that they've got going there.
Nadeem outside the off stump, it does spin away, and Bess leaves that. And did you get, was it Ebony you were speaking to?
No, that was Knuckle.
Oh, Knuckle,
that was
yes.
Knuckle.
Yesterday tea time. Yeah, so some really interesting interviews being played at lunchtime and tea time during the Guerrilla Cricket, during this series, and Nadeem bowls, and that's played out onto the leg side, and there is a single, well-run single, so Best gets off 1, he moves on to 2, and the score moves up to 496 for 6.
Have a look. We got Harry El Shopanos. Oh no, he's replying to someone. We're all quite quiet on Twitter at the moment, and on our various social media platforms. As Leanne says, hello Gorillas, great job as usual, listening intently from Pristina in Kosovo. And he's saying congrats David Brook.
On?
I don't know, he just says. Do you know him, Aslan, from Kosovo?
Not that I'm aware of, but hello everyone, a new friend is a new window on the world.
But he's congratulating you for something.
Well
done David, well done.
Anyway, I think we're due a change before Knuckle explodes.
Yeah, we're going to move across now and taking over ball by ball. Is it you, Tony?
No, I'm done for the day. I will be back tomorrow.
So I'm going to hand you over to Leslie's going to say a few words, and then the ball by ball coverage will be from
Al Hodge.
Al.
I think it's from me. Thank you very much, David.
I'm off now until I don't know when.
But I know we'll meet
But
again.
I'll be back,
Some
I'm sure.
sunny day.
See you later.
Is this a change in the bowl? We've got Washington Sundar about to bowl.
Some Sundar day.
Day. And that is, nearly terrifies Best the first ball of this over, but ends up being a low full toss, which Best just bats gently back to the bowler.
While aiming through mid-wicket.
Yeah, just kind of like, far more of a regulation delivery just outside Best's off stump, and he just plays that back to the bowler. And there'll be no run. England 4-9-6 for 6.
Quite enjoyed your crooning there, Alan Knackle. That was a bit unexpected for 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well, as most things would be for 10 o'clock in the morning. And just comes down the track and pushes that ball past the bowler to a long on. So it seems strange that especially for Bess, you might want to have long on and long off as mid on and mid off.
I think I was talking about this earlier, I think there's some logic in India trying to slow England down here. They're going to be batting, if you assume they're going to be batting for a while, you just minimise the number of runs they can score in that time.
Okay. I didn't know whether, the idea that essentially you're at the tail now, not wishing to diminish Bess's batting ability, but, it's Butler and the bowlers. So, which I know Nestle has seen live.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, to be fair, Jofra Archer coming in with a handy platform could be quite fun to watch.
It could be quite fun to watch, and that's past Butler's outside edge, and there is Sunder so wants a wicket. Please give me a wicket. He cannot believe that the umpire is not even making eye contact with him. Not even. It spurns him as he would spurn a rabid dog.
Well, I mean,
there are no reviews.
The reason I'm saying this is because there are no reviews. Rishad Pant looks like someone's taken away all his toys just before bedtime. This is incredulity on behalf of the Indian batsmen. They are convinced. Now I'm saying all of this because we haven't seen Snicko yet.
Yeah, Washington did at least turn round to the umpire before starting to celebrate.
Yeah, which is always handy because you never want to see that celeb appeal.
To be honest, I quite enjoy
and then to find, how far do you let them run? Next ball is driven by Jos Buttler. Sumptuously, and extra cover is not going to be able to get there. And Butler has caressed that ball to compound Sundar's misery. The world's going against him, and that's 4 runs and 500 for England.
Such a good shot from Butler. There's not much foot movement there. He's transferred the weight through the shot. All the momentum is going through the shot. There's no flourish to it. There's no need for a flourish to it.
Not really. And he's watchful again in defence. It's like the length of the ball has meant that he hasn't had to get a stride forward. He's just, like you said, moved his weight through the ball, and that's been enough. I mean, I'm sure we're about to go to a drinks break, so I'm sure, Jules, as we kind of come to you for social media, we'll see some replays of that incredible appeal by the Indian fielders and see whether there was any merit to it or not.
We have a bit of a mystery resolved in terms of why Aslan is saying to David Brooke, congratulations. Apparently he put a bid on Root at 2-1 for his double ton. I think that's a congratulations. And then Nessa's come back in and said, I think it was 11 for 2 for a double with Stokes getting his ton. So that's Mr. Right. Brooks is on shortly, isn't he? So he can probably clarify what his bet was.
He did say earlier on this morning that he'd kind of gone for the double, but I think he might have also covered them separately. So a victory against the bookmakers.
We'll find out more in a bit. Josie Oak is with us. I read this wrong to start off with. I actually read it as initially have Tory's notes now got skid marks, and it's actually have Tony's notes now got skid marks. I think in reply to the fact that his cat keeps on invading the notes that he's writing.
So what confused me about that was he says, my cat is covering up my notes. Does the cat also make Tony forget everything he ever knew about Ben Stokes? Does the cat have those sort of magical powers?
You'd be surprised about what cats can make you do. You know,
one hell of a pout, that cat. Actually, it's got quite a seductive look going on there. So maybe it's the power of the cat going on. Harriet Atkinson is with us, and she says she's just woken up. I think, am I not dreaming it? England nearly 500. You're not dreaming, my dear. We are
dream
over.
No longer. 501 for 6.
And El Choperinas is with us, and he said the exact QI tweet from where I got the picture from for this one today. That was obviously in a reply to an earlier tweet. It's
very good.
Scoot through.
It's very good. I'll just retweet this. You get this sort of thing of sort of medieval manuscripts that sometimes look a little bit crickety, and this is one of them. I'll retweet it. It makes more sense visually. Go have a look.
Brilliant, thank you for that. And Steve Lovelace said there's a touch of Roland Garros starting to appear on this track, and that might account for the increased prevalence of the foot nobles in this test.
No, it's just the umpires are calling them all. The third umpire's calling them all automatically. They're looking at every ball. We went through a long period in Test history, and this goes back 20 years or more, where you didn't get a lot of you got a lot of front foot no balls missed. So I think we're probably finding out just how many bowlers bowl.
True enough. And if it is going to go a bit Roland Garros, but then we know that Nadal's topspin forehand in the 4th innings is going to work wonders.
Rafael Nadine.
Yeah, Nadal. Well, Nadal, Nadine, potato.
Nigel Stoneman says you only plant your foot if you want to grow legumes. So there was a bit of a discussion going on about whether you plant your foot, or I think David was having that conversation a little bit earlier. Martin has said after seeing Joss Butler hit a couple of 4s, I thought, do you think India might suffer in the long term from the world's best players being used to conditions there due to player stints and participating in the 2020, which is quite an interesting point, and I wouldn't mind coming back to that a bit later, because I think it's definitely helped certainly the Afghan team in terms of their game and how they've developed. I'd say they're better in Ireland these days.
Yeah,
but that's one for debate, I think.
Looking at India's record over the last few years in Test cricket, limited overs cricket to some extent, but certainly Test cricket, you would have to say no. This is the best Indian Test team ever. By some distance.
Nadeem is in for the first ball of his 43rd over, and Best tries to rock back to his leg side and push the ball away, but can only find the short fielder, and there'll be no run.
For every advantage that that players from overseas get playing more in India, India also get those advantages from those players coming and playing and exposing them to different techniques and things.
Best has come down the track, and he has managed to clear mid-off. Not the best timed of aerial shots, and it will just dribble to the boundary, sponge, nearly out, but 4 runs. Oh, he's edging it. 4. So we've seen the ultra edge of the massive dismissal appeal that the whole of the Indian side couldn't believe wasn't given. As Best comes down the track again and tries to push the ball through mid-wicket, and there's no run. Butler edged it. It's clear as day on
ultra edge.
On ultra edge, but the reviewing earlier on in the day was a bit suspect, and they've got none to go back to as Best goes back in his crease and plays a ball that's short of a length. Could have maybe tried to pull that ball away, but just bats it gently back towards the bowler. So India can quite rightly feel aggrieved that they haven't sent Butler back to the hutch, as Best just shoulders arms and let that ball from the Nadeem goes through to the keeper.
There's only so aggrieved you can be, for one thing, at what was it at the time, 497 for 6, and also they wasted certainly 2 reviews.
2 of them, yeah. As last ball of the over, and that's gone through Best's defences, but sadly it's gone through Pant's defences as well, and that's going to be a bye, I'm sure of it. Yep, that's gone through the keeper, but it's only gone through the keeper for 1. I think that's the first one that Pant's missed all innings, hasn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say, there's obviously a lot of talk about Rishabh Pant's wicket keeping, and the trade-off against. I think that argument has been pretty much settled by the fact that Rishabh Pant has won India matches and saved India matches with the bat repeatedly now. He's a wonderful player, Rishabh Pant, and a genuine, as I say, match winner. But his keeping is not nearly as good as Riddhiman Saha's. It's sort of average in world terms, but he has been fairly tidy, albeit on a flattish pitch. Incidentally, that was not a brilliant decision by Anil Chaudhary to miss that edge. And it does show a little bit what the difference is between the very top umpires, Nitin Menon on the elite panel and Anil Chaudhary on the international panel.
Bess plays the first ball of Sundar's over straight back to the keeper. Attempted a straight drive, but only really nothing more than a push back to the bowler. And there's no run off that first ball. Second ball, and that slightly shorter in length, but snarls up at Bess. And Bess has to take one hand off the bat and comes off maybe the shoulder of the bat, but drops harmlessly. Would have had a short
back pad.
Oh, actually, it spun past his hand and it's hit him kind of on the hip. He's come down the track and he's squeezed that away. Probably a little inside edgy, keeping I think it's Rohit Sharma there, interested at short square leg, but there's no run as it's fielded just backward of square.
It's a classic case of when you're a spinner and you're batting and your team's got a lead, you don't actually mind the odd one beating you and spitting up.
Probably not. Bess has no idea about where he's played this ball. He's come down the track again. Seems to be his method of attack towards Sundar, but Sundar's really beat him in the flight there, and he's looking to leg while the ball comes off the outside edge, and he scrambles through for a single. Probably glad to be off strike, really. A walking wicket there, Bess, if he'd have stayed on strike to Sundar. So Butler will take strike, and he guides that fine of leg slip, and that's gone all the way for 4. I'm just going to see if that's 4 off the bat. It is 4 off the bat, so just fine of leg slip.
1, 2, 3, 4.
A little bit lucky from Butler turning that around the corner, and it's so fine that it didn't go anywhere near leg slip. Kohli's in a relatively orthodox position.
Yeah, it's gone really quite fine. I'm sure it's finer than. It's difficult to tell, really. It's definitely on Kohli's right, and so far that there's no way that he can make the ground to it. That's a slightly quicker ball, fired in on Butler's legs, squirts out behind square on the offside. There's no run, even though Bess desperately wanted to take that single off the last ball of the over. End of the over, 511 for 6, eventful. Sundar showing that there's still some life in the pitch yet.
And indeed in this...
So I've got a question for you. And Nakul sort of did his usual, where he throws in a comment and then you're thinking, that's an interesting point. It'll be interesting to see what some of our listeners think. Is this the best India side playing Test cricket? And I say that because this came in just at the same time you said that, Nakul. Josie Oak came in and said that Ashwin seems to be out of form. Have we better spinners than India? So you're just kind of thinking, there's a little bit of a question mark here. Is this the best Indian Test side that we've had?
Well, I mean, this
from 1 to 11, almost certainly.
This isn't India's strongest 11. Certainly, if you look at the sort of bowling, the general group, the sort of the 15 or 16, and you look at India's performances away from home in particular, I don't think there's any question.
As Bess comes down the track to Nadim's first ball of his next over, and again slightly beaten in the flight. Kohli, I am sure, is not minding Bess's modus operandi here at the moment.
No.
But these pair have put on 34.
Yeah, so much so that they haven't taken the third new ball, in fact. They're keeping going with these two. There's also India's superlative home record, 1 lost Test in 8 years.
And that's on Bess's leg stump, and he is finally clipped that ball away. Fine leg is not fine enough, and it's too short. That's going to go all the way for 4 runs.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
So yeah, you're saying superlative home record?
Yeah, it's one of the most dominant home streaks of all time, possibly the most dominant home streak of all time. India has always been a difficult place to tour, but even more so in the last few years, particularly aided by the fact that the seam attack have been on an equal footing with the spin attack in the last 3-4 years.
What happens when you go down leg side? The next ball, short, wide. Best cuts the ball, and it goes like a tracer bullet all the way for 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
He's hanging on in there, Don Bess. Hanging on in there. He's doing all right. Doing a job.
Yeah, Maverick lower down the order there will get you some runs, but you're not quite sure how.
Doing a job. Yeah, it's the type of really frustrating thing of like, how are you not out yet? Oh my, how are you not out? As he comes down the track, and this ball kind of more or less hits Nadeem before he has a chance to react. Oh, sorry, hits the stumps before he has a chance to react. Nadeem doesn't touch it, so Butler is no harm of being run out. That would only be Ashwin, right? That would, if that would have been the case. It might have touched the foot, but Butler was definitely in his ground. He's going to make no mistakes of backing up. As slightly wider delivery here, the 4th ball of the over, and Best just pushes the ball into the covers, and there's no run. And
there's a right old debate going on YouTube. We'll do that at the end of this over.
And we have a no ball.
Over the line! Huh? I'm sorry, Smokey. You were over the line. That's a foul.
Next ball of the over is on Bess's leg stump, and he just pushes the ball to square leg, and they'll jog through for a single. England 5-2-1 for 6.
I make that Shabazz Nadeem's 6th front foot no ball.
Yeah, there's 16 for the innings, 24 extras in total, just the 2 byes, but 16 no ball. It'll be interesting about whether it's the fact that the heel is up when the ball is released. As that ball is wide of Butler's off stump, he just pushes the ball out, and there's a cover in there in place, and he'll do the fielding, and there'll be no run, and and Bess will be on strike for the first ball of the next over. So it's like the heel isn't planted.
That doesn't matter. Any part of a foot behind the line, whether planted or not.
All right. So right. In which case,
yeah,
scratch that.
Jules, we had a debate on YouTube.
Yeah, so with the score on the 521 for 6, the debate going on YouTube. So we've got Alan Turfmore that says, declare at 500 and rip into the openers. Mesnor Man has said, I think I prefer the strategy of bat on and on, bat once only. And India did score big last time in Chennai, and Joss and Jofra can do the big levers whenever they decide to. Alan Turfmore has come back at this and said, fair point, but is it worth the bowlers getting a possible injury while batting when England have such a big score already?
It is less likely than you think. Sundar in, and Bess again comes down the track to Sundar, but the ball again squirts off the outside edge, but only goes as far as point, and there'll be no run. I wouldn't.
The pitch isn't doing all that much. It's not like the ball's rearing up from a length. It's like it was, say, at the Gabba or Sydney for the India-Australia series. I don't think there's all that much risk of, say, Archer getting injured if he tries to smash a quick 30.
Washington Sundar's next ball down the backside of Dominic Bess, and that is taken quite well down the leg side by Rishabh Pant, and there'll be no run.
I mean, it continues. So Mesnor Man comes in and says, I see what you mean, but I think we have cover in this match with Root and Lawrence, and the squad should be should there be an injury, and a huge score here will be a mental win for the rest of the series.
I think
down the pitch comes Bess again, but only blocks the ball back to Sundar. There'll be no run. 258 runs for the day, as this ball snarls off slightly back at the length, and Bess just fends at the ball and guides the ball to what would be a conventional gully if Sundar was a pace bowler, backward of square on the offside. There'll be no run.
I think that the risk of that happening is low enough that it's worth it. Also, amazing that we're talking declaration speculation already.
Best takes the next ball just on his leg stump, guides it to mid-wicket rather than past mid-wicket, and there'll be no run.
Particularly given that Joe Root said last night that he wants to bat all through the today and well into tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a different kind of conversation tomorrow morning.
From here, you just bat and see where you end up, don't you?
I guess. I would do. Outside, Bess is off stump with the last ball of the over. Played with a loosish bat, goes behind square on the offside. There is no run. That's a maiden from Washington Sundar. And Jules, have we got anything else on the tweets for you? The Twitter.
Yep, Sol's with us on Hot Mic. So he said, Yoel, long time after Sri Lanka tour, and he was questioning whether this is good batting, a good pitch, or bad bowling. Which one would you pick?
I think it's a flat pitch, but it's really good batting.
Yeah, I don't think India have bowled that badly. Washington Sundar's been off the pace. Nadeem took a while to get into his spell, but has been tidy since. And Ashwin just had to bowl an awful lot of overs. Jasprit Bumrah, I think, has bowled very well. And this man who's about to come on at the Pathabhiraman end has also bowled far better than his figures of 0 for 42 from 23 overs suggest.
Ishan Sharma's gonna get you.
Still going with the old new ball. Or the old new ball? The second ball.
Better get yourself together, darling.
The second old ball.
Learn how to play pace. How in the world you gonna see? Netting against trundlers like me. Who am I?
I think Joe Root was superlative. Dom Sibley continues to improve visibly and grow in stature and find a way. And Stokes was, for a brief period, you couldn't bowl to him.
I think we might have one over or so with the old ball. See maybe if there's an element of reverse, and then once Sharma's got himself loose, that ball is inside edged by Josh Butler. Pant has no chance, and that will skirt away to the boundary for 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Tried to cut the ball, just got an inside edge. Nothing you can do about that. Wasn't a world-class wicket-taking delivery by any stretch of the imagination, but on more than a number of other days, that ball careens into the base of off stump.
Yeah.
So Sharma will feel aggrieved.
And at 250 for 6, that probably careens into the stumps as well.
Something like that. Butler moves to 30.
Oh dear.
He lets that go and he's bowled. A horrific lapse of judgment by Josh Butler. The ball comes back a little bit off the pitch. But Butler basically misses a straight one. And he'll have to go.
Butler fails to play a shot at a ball that hit middle and off. It did come in quite a long way, I think. A little bit of seam, and then it did jag back in a bit, but
it's hit the outside of off.
It's a leave that he has failed to get anything in line with as a second line of defence, and he's left it to hit the top of off. Josh Butler gone for 30 off 51 deliveries with 5 fours. Ishant Sharma has a deserved wicket in a slightly odd way.
Got him! Why did he do that? Unbelievable!
Thank you to guest commentator Fazir Muhammad,
who I don't know if you've talked about the podcast that he's done with Match on the Caribbean podcast.
I did.
Bloody brilliant.
I did see that they had Fazir on. Great voice of West Indian cricket. I haven't had a chance to listen to that yet, but
it is well worth the time.
Yeah,
well worth the time.
It's one of my favourite commentators, and as someone who was not a former player and has made a career as not just a radio but a TV commentator, Fazir is someone I look up to. What
Mash draws out of him in terms of the questions and his responses, it's an enlightening conversation.
Yeah, 100%. It's a great little listen, so do listen to it on the Caribbean Cricket podcast and get it from your local podcast providers.
Yeah, with our pal Mashel and his co-host Santoki Nagulendran, good folks. Anyway, that brings this absolute hero to the crease.
He will break your helmet, break your heart, hotter than lava, cooler than Bogart, in your face, at your stump.
And he's gone first ball!
On your mouth.
Let's have less of that jingle. Ishant Sharma, you are El Fuego, sir. That ball again is jagged back, and Archer, well, the only difference between the two dismissals, at least Archer's played and missed at one, and Butler just left one to hit off stumping, and Ishant Sharma from nowhere is on a hat-trick.
Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle.
You do not even deserve your full jingle, sir. Leave the arena.
A decent delivery first up, right?
It is for a number 9. You know, it's not exactly gonna. It shouldn't be troubling too many top order batsmen, but that's what Jofra Archer isn't. So, and there's a little bit of impromptu physio work as Sharma is just receiving the benefit of Ashwin's mighty thumbs in the just below the shoulder blades
This
as
is
he's on the
great.
hat trick. It's just like just there.
Oh, thank you.
No, you know that scratch that you can't quite get to. It looked like that. So, Ishant's on a hat trick. The bespectacled one is on his way.
Here comes the Taunton Tendulkar.
Coming up, here's a face that I know. It's Jack Leach. Now coming up is Jack Leach. On Jack Leach.
Indian bowlers to take Test hat-tricks. Harbhajan Singh against Australia at Eden Gardens in 2001. Irfan Pathan in the first over of a match against Pakistan.
Wasn't that the first 3 balls?
It wasn't the first 3 balls. It was in the first over at Karachi in 2006, a game that India incidentally ended up losing by 300 runs. Yeah. And Jasprit Bumrah against the West Indies at Sabina Park in August 2019. No Indian bowler has taken a Test hat-trick. No Indian fast bowler rather has taken a Test hat-trick in India.
Well, you could say he's done the difficult bit. He's got the first 2. He's on a hat-trick, ladies and gentlemen. 525 for 8. And who would have thought there'd be this much excitement towards the end of day 2? Come on, Ishant Sharma. Get it on target. Comes in, and Jack Leach squirts that ball away just wide of Gully, and Jack Leach will take a single. Good ball, though. Right on target, made in play. Oh, you would have paid good money for a Bumrah in-swinging Yorker there, but he's maybe not that type of bowler.
I mean, that is pretty much how Bumrah got that hat trick. It's a no
and
ball.
And it's a no ball. So hang on. At the risk of asking all the, so that ball's not necessarily illegal delivery,
I was just
right?
thinking the same thing. Jules, does it carry over? Surely not, right?
Can I get a ruling?
So right, okay. So what's your actual question here?
Basically,
if he takes a wicket now, is it a hat trick?
Technically, yes, because the last ball wasn't a legal ball.
But it was a
drop in again, folks. Come on.
That would be weird. I don't know if that's ever happened before. A bowler taking 2 wickets, then a no
ball, and then well, they're not necessarily putting up that he's on a hat trick, so we're going to go with our own scorer's decision here, and that's down the leg side of Bess, and well, all of that is rendered moot. That potential excitement, as that's going to be a leg bye, I'm assuming.
I would say technically, for a hat trick, you want 3 legal balls on the bounce to actually qualify for the hat trick, because otherwise you get the farcical situations where you've got a wicket wide wicket and no balls and things. But technically, you're looking at legal balls delivered, aren't you? In an over,
yeah. Anyway, the point was moot, so we don't have to worry about it.
We don't have to worry about that. I think we've got 2 balls left, and then we're going to have our last sort of switch around for the day. Oh,
it's good tight bowling.
Last minute excitement. Death throws excitement.
Good tight bowling there from Ishant Sharma, getting the ball to jag in towards the top of off stump.
And that jags in towards Leach's Ishant Sharma is bowling around the wicket to the left-handed Leach. He fends that to cover, and there's no run. And all of a sudden, Sharma's got 2 for 48. We were talking about he's bowled better than his figures, and now it more or less is a reflection of how he's been that anchoring, if not wicket-taking force throughout the innings.
Yeah, he's been apart from his first spell yesterday, sort of metronomically accurate. He's got the ball to move off the seam, and he's bowled like he's been bowling for the last 3 years, really, or 4 years, really, in Test cricket, particularly in India. And I think his figures don't flatter him particularly.
And a stat to be aware of for the next half hour is he's on 299 Test wickets, and that's edged. And I think that's gone through to slip to Rohit Sharma on the bounce. Nobody's celebrating. It's hit him on the bounce. That's not out. England remain 5-2-8 for 8. But maybe Archer is going to get a bowl after a while. I think that's me done for the day. I will pass you on to my colleagues who will take care of you for the rest of the day. So see you tomorrow.
See you later, Ouch. I'm going to go through some Twitters here. So Rob Reed is with us. He's coming in from Malaysia. It's a very, very nice part of the world. So he's got cricket during the day, and then he's got basically rugby for the rest of the evening and indeed into the night. El Chopanos is going to be very happy because he said the new ball is available, but old sadness continues until that last over. So hopefully you're a bit more cheerful after that. Vector Victoria has come in and says, is it too early to mention the D word, declaring, otherwise what is Root's plan to win this game? Probably all the wickets that are falling. AD Brian has come in and said, I reckon that the Sixers are 20 runs short in the BBL final. Slightly off topic, but throwing that in there. We've got that going on. We've also got South Africa, Pakistan happening right now. We'll find out some scores to bring them to you shortly.
And West Indies, Bangladesh.
Oh yeah,
so there's
all happening.
Plenty of cricket going on. Washington Sundar is going to continue at the Anna Pavilion end, and joined. Jules and I are joined also by David Brooke. A bit of excitement there for Ishant Sharma. I think he's probably deserved a couple of wickets.
He has indeed. Yes, he bowled a lot better, as you said. Nakul, bowled well. Hello, Jules.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really enjoying listening to you, as ever. Brings such a lot to guerrilla cricket, you do.
What nerdy stats? Random things about the laws.
Hey, that's all very welcome. Washington looking for his first wicket of the Test match. Bowls to Don Bess, who is forward and clips this into the onside. There is no run. Two great mates at the crease in Dominic Bess and Jack Leach. No longer county colleagues, of course, with Don Bess moving up to Yorkshire to try and get some more regular cricket. There's 3 men round the bat. Leg slip and short leg. This one holds its line as Bess prods hopefully at it and is beaten on the outside edge. There is no run. Seeing, David, the danger of the demon non-turning delivery.
Yes, indeed. There's been a few of those. Got the Bangladesh score here.
Hold that thought. Down the track comes Don Bess and plays this pleasantly back to the bowler. There is no run.
Yes, West Indies chasing an improbable 394 for victory, 110 for 3. A name to watch making his debut, Kyle Mayers, 37 not out. I like the look of this batsman from Barbados, but it's tough for 2 debutants.
Full delivery and punch down the ground by Dominic Bess. Down to long on, they take the single. I was impressed with Kyle Mayers during the CPL for Barbados. Hits the ball hard and looks a well organised player. I haven't watched a great deal of him in first class cricket, but was impressed during the CPL.
Oh yeah, it's worth having a look at the highlights YouTube. He's been very stylish in this Test match.
Yeah, this West Indies sort of B/C team with so many players not touring Bangladesh due to the COVID situation in that country and bubble fatigue, as Washington is in round the wicket to Jack Leach, who clips this into the mid-wicket region, and there is no run. Quite a lot, Jules, could rest on how Dominic Bess and Jack Leach bowl. I think possibly even in comparison to Sundar and Nadeem.
Yeah, it's putting a bit of pressure on them. I'm actually more intrigued to see how, and I didn't think I'd end up saying this for a Test match in tonight, I'm actually more interested to see how some of the faster bowlers go in this Test, actually.
As Washington is in, Bess comes down the track and nearly gets squared up by as it drifts to leg, but he adjusts his feet well and clips to Rohit, that short mid-wicket. There is no run. 2 runs off the over. England 5:30 for 8. Still going with the old ball, the second old ball. I mean, the reason I said the spinners is I sort of Anderson and Archer are to some extent known quantities, and Stokes. I don't think you have to worry too much about them. But Bess and Leach are going to have to bowl a lot of overs, one would think. India haven't been able to get the control they would have liked from Washington Sundar, or indeed the number of overs that they would have liked. So if Bess and Leach aren't able to bowl enough overs, then that puts extra mileage in the legs of Anderson and Archer and Stokes.
You've also got Root as your backup spinner. Don't get me wrong, he's batted for like centuries in the first innings, but I think there are other spin options in the side. For me, looking at, I would say the spinners for India. I'll let you do this ball.
As Ishant comes in, buoyed by those 2 wickets in 2 balls last over, and has a prod, does Jack Leach, a belated appeal from Rishabh Pant, and joined by Ishant Sharma. Nitin Menon, old Stoneface, is not moved, and in England, India rather, as previously discussed, have no recourse to a review. I don't think Jack Leach was particularly near edging this delivery. Held its line from round the wicket to the left-hander. Yes, Leach missed it by some distance. Ishant is very good round the wicket to left-handers. Has been in the last few years. It's true, England do have a part-time option also in Dan Lawrence with his right arm, whatever it is.
That's a bit optimistic for Test match.
Yeah, that's a good description.
But I just, you look at, with all due respect to Sundar and Nadeem, the sort of second-rate spinners for India, they've gone for a bit of tab.
Goes a little bit wider and on the crease, and Leach has a fend at it, but then draws his bat some way inside the line of the ball and just about leaves it through to punt. There is no run. Yeah, they are in India's changed spinners, but they've had to bowl a lot of overs and they haven't been as effective, and they've taken the pressure off. They took the pressure off Root in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we just got to wait and see how the first innings go. I would actually feel a slightly more pressure if I was a faster bowler, just seeing how Sharma and Bumrah have bowled. They've been quite economical, they've taken wickets. My personal view is the pressure's more on them a little bit to see if they can take the wickets with the new ball, but let's wait and see.
Yeah, interesting. I've seen a bit of swing and some reverse swing in particular. Again, far too good really for Jack Leach. Ishant coming in round the wicket, angling the ball into the left-hander, and then it jagging away sharply off the seam. That was a little bit wider, and Leach left well enough alone, and there is no run.
Jules, just to back up your point there, these 2 bowlers, Shadim and Washington Sunday, 259 runs, 2 wickets, 2 for 259.
Yeah, it took Shahbaz Nadeem a long time to. It took him a spell or two to really warm to his game, to warm up. But then he's since then. I mean, once he's got a few overs under his belt, he's looked like a guy who has 400 first-class wickets. And he's looked quite tidy, really. As Ishant is in, Leach forward and prods it into the offside. Does get laid bat on ball, but there is no run. But I think, to some extent, it was too late by then. Washington has been disappointing, and it's the fact that he hasn't been able to bowl enough overs for India that has put extra, put extra miles into the legs of Ashwin in particular.
Wow, they've just shown a picture of Murali Kartik. He looks like he's joined some sort of mafia group. He looks amazing, but it's what?
He has. He's joined the BCCI commentary team.
Murali Kartik's been in there for a little while since he retired. Yeah, he does rock a pair of aviators. And Ishant is in outside off stump and left alone by Jack Leach through to the keeper. There is no run.
Just for a quick update for everybody that wants to keep up with the other scores. So Pakistan, South Africa. Pakistan in their second innings are 49 for 3, and they currently lead South Africa by 120 runs with 7 wickets remaining in that innings. The Sydney Sixers on the BBL final had 188 for 6, and the Perth Scorchers in reply after the first over are 4 without loss. And West Indies chasing 285 runs to win, but they have got 7 wickets in hand. So It'll be interesting to see how that one pans out.
Last ball of the over from Ishant Sharma, long-legged rhythmical run-up, and this is a little bit tighter too off stump, and Leach gets bat on ball, plays it with the open face on the bounce to gully. There is no run. A maiden from Ishant Sharma. England 5:30 for 8. I wonder if we might see a burst of Bumrah.
A few tweets for you, Knuckle. Martin Lawrence says what many of us are thinking: your friend and commentator Jules is awesome. Completely agree with that.
Agreed.
Aman says, well, now Joss Butler can go home peacefully and no one will say what if Butler scores 100 in the first test. Also, I guess no more discussions and fights on guerrilla commentary about Joss. Rena Keita, I was one of the protagonists, I have to say. Rena Keita says many West Indian stars are playing in the T10 league in the UAE and Carlos Brathwaite is at the BBL final, which kind of suggests that it's not just the bubble that is the reason why they're not in Bangladesh. It's because many are opting to play in the T10. So though Knuckle, there were 9 officially unavailable, there could be a lot more who were actually unavailable.
Washington continuing, no sign of Bumrah yet. Good take from Rishabh Pant as that zips off the wicket, and Pant takes it at shoulder height. Really beats Dom Bess on the outside edge. Again, held for turn, was bowling it with that sort of overspun action with the seamers pointing sort of towards leg slip, trying to get the ball up and down quickly, but just skidded on, did not turn. Down the track comes Bess, and again slightly squared up as he's coming down the track, but manages to sort his feet out and clip to mid-wicket. There is no run. The bubble fatigue was part of it. The reason cited for most of them was the fact that Bangladesh has such a bad COVID situation that a lot of players didn't think it was safe for them to do so. Flatter from Washington, and I think expecting Best to perhaps come down the track, and he blocks it into the onside. There is no run. There's some sort of japes going on around the from the fielders around the stumps, probably led by Rishabh Pant. I saw him and Rahane and Gill at short leg, and Bess having a grin at each other. It's Fuller, an on-leg stump, and blocked by Bess to Rohit Sharma at Virat Kohli at mid-wicket. There is no run. I mean, on the point about Carlos Brathwaite isn't near test contention.
No, but he didn't figure in the ODI team either.
No.
They went backwards with Jason Mohammed coming in. Would have been Carlos Brathwaite was an option to captain that side.
Down the track comes Bess and gets to the pitch of this one and clips down to Ashwin long on for a single. Yeah, possibly, although Brathwaite is not in contention for a first choice West Indies one-day international 11.
No, but this was a second choice. Now, well, don't forget he got a near century, didn't he, in the World Cup?
That was a wonderful.
And he's been dropped too quickly. They drop players very quickly. West Indies.
That was a stunning innings against New Zealand, and very nearly won the game by himself. But his performances have been few and far between, unfortunately, in West Indies colours, and he didn't have a very good CPL either. This one. It's a little bit of purchase from the surface, a little bit of bounce, but well covered by Leach. Blocks into the onside. There is no run. Tidy stuff from India in the last few overs, with 6 overs remaining today. England are 531 for 8. We should be on GPL watch, shouldn't we? So England closed yesterday on 263. So that means that they have currently added 268, and we have quite a lot of I say quite a lot of people. We have quite a lot of entries from Des in contention still. A couple of solitary ones from Messages and Quack Quack Mel in there as well. I think a GPL winner is very well possible.
Something I've picked up on, and I think this is really helping with India at the moment, and Sharma to be able to take the wickets. Sundar is bowled a maiden, gone for 2 runs, gone for 1 run in his last 3 overs. That's really putting the squeeze on to your lower order batters in the side, especially when there's calls to kick on, there's ambitions to get 600, and it's just allowing Sharma to come in as well, take those wickets and again keep on applying that pressure. It's quite a double act that's going on here at the moment.
That's absolutely right, and it's what Washington hasn't been able to do through almost all of the rest of the innings, which has meant that Kohli hasn't been able to rely on him. He hasn't been able to bowl him enough overs. Out of 173 overs, he's bowled 24. He's bowled fewer overs than Ishant or Bumrah. I don't know they're your 2 premier bowlers, but even so, you pick someone as a spinner in these conditions is back of a length from Ishant Sharma continuing, and best blocks to mid-wicket. There is no run, so he's not been he hasn't been called on enough by Kohli, or he hasn't been able to be called on enough, which has meant that Ashwin's had to bowl 49 overs, Nadim's had to bowl 44 overs, even though Nadim was struggling for rhythm a little bit. And it's, as I said, taken a lot of the pressure off England and allowed Joe Root in particular feasted on Washington yesterday as he was nearing his 100.
Can I just give a shout out to the Bear, who's joined us? Morning, Dave. Morning to you, Bear, the brains behind the Guerrilla Cricket operation.
Brains and the technically competent fingers. Short ball from Ishant Sharma, first bouncer in about a day, and loops through to Rishabh Pant. There is no run.
Yeah, nice to hear from the Bear. And I was saying that there's a lot of activity on the Guerrilla Cricket website at the moment, www.guerillacricket.com. Lots of articles. Knuckle, you've written a few things on there. It's really improved, hasn't it?
Yeah,
really got a lot of stuff on there now.
Yeah, we've launched our news service. I wrote a piece yesterday about some of the colour around Mehdi Hassan's first Test 100, the Bangladeshi all-rounder, talking about how he was having to calm his batting partner down when he was getting to his 100 rather than the other way around. Mustafizur, been friends for a long time. It's a lovely little bit of detail in there as in comes Ishant Sharma, strikes Bess on the pad, appeals from behind the wicket from the keeper and slip, but it was too high and probably going down leg. And by the way, Bess has gone down. That might have hit him really rather too high indeed for an LBW shout. There is no run.
And we've got, I believe, the Galton Gambia grumpy story.
Yeah, indeed. Yep, that. Yes, the little Dominics were bothered, and down goes the transplanted Summer Season, having a little chat with Jack Leach to take time out of the game.
He might be also in some pain, Knuckle, to be fair.
Well, yes, that's certainly true, but I think both of those things are true at the same time. India haven't let England completely run away with this game in the last little while, but there was a period today, particularly when Root and Stokes were batting together, where it looked like that was very much going to be the case. It's still a big score for England, but it's so far not astronomical.
Yeah, I mean, I think the game slightly ran away with it yesterday, in all honesty. And you I know what you're trying to say. It's not like you're getting 600, 650, but 531 for England in India. It's got to be one of the highest scores, hasn't it?
It's a big,
I think in recent years.
It's a biggie. Down the leg side is Ishant Sharma, and that's tickled on its way by Dom Bess. Good shot down to the fine leg boundary for 4.
The number of the day. Who could ask for more? The number of the day is 4.
I guess what I'm saying is it will be very easy in this situation for the last. We see this a lot. The last session of the day when teams have been batting for a while and the teams have been bowling for a while is that the last sort of hour of the day the runs are going at 3s and 4s and over. But that hasn't happened. India have stuck to their task, but England have batted very well on a pitch that has only had demons intermittently and has been generally a fairly true one. And Dominic Bess leaving this in-swinger from Ishant Sharma, not really learning from the example of Jos Buttler, left it alone with not much of an attempt to cover the line, but it didn't quite swing back enough to take off that stump, and there is no run, not very far away at all.
Armchair Cricket Podcast says, what an inspired spell of fast bowling late on day 2 from Ishant to burst through the England ranks. He has given India a chance to wrest back the initiative before they bat.
I think that's going a little bit far. He did bowl well, and certainly Jos Buttler could have done some serious damage to India tomorrow, to be honest, not as much as tonight. Second slip and a gully, a catching short leg and a square leg rather, and a catching mid-wicket. LBW appeal as Ishant goes full and Bess is struck on the pad. Nitin Menon says no, India don't have a review. My immediate thought was that was going slightly down leg.
I think I'd agree with that.
See this again. It did swing. We've seen some swing throughout the Test matches. The old ball obviously swinging. It probably hit him on leg stump and is going further down. Good delivery though from Ishant. We saw Jasprit Bumrah get some appreciable swing with the second, with the old ball and then with the second new ball. It'll be interesting to see how Anderson and Archer go with it. And Stokes, who can definitely get the ball to come back into the right-hander.
News from Messi Jez. Cameron Bancroft is belting it in the BBL. Not a toasted sandwich or sheet of sandpaper in sight. Farong gives us an update at Stumps on day 4. He's following closely the Bangladesh-West Indies match. West Indies at Stumps, 110 for 3. Trailed by 285, all 3 wickets to the man of the match, Mehdi Hassan Miraz, who's obviously got that century.
Oh, Rohit Sharma has dropped a Denley at mid-wicket. Bess has come down the track to Washington Sundar and clipped it straight to Rohit at short mid-wicket, who has somehow, a very good pair of hands Rohit Sharma has, he's somehow just failed to grasp onto it and put down an absolute sitter, reminiscent of Joe Denley off Jofra Archer out at Mount Maunganui. It's one of those drops that's so bad everyone laughs, including Rohit.
The pimps in the crib, ma. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Remarkable. Dominic Best dropped on 19 and he pushes this off the outside part of the bat down to third man. And they take a single. Really, that's just inexplicable.
That's a late in the day. I'm too tired and I've just lost my way with everything sort of drop. Stokes' reaction is amazing.
Well, Stokes did the face like Stuart Broad did when Stokes took that catch off him at Trent Bridge. Washington into Jack Leach, who defends studiously back to the bowler. There is no run, if indeed.
Have you ever?
Sorry.
Have you ever seen an easier catch dropped?
Joe Denley off Jofra Archer at Mount Maunganui. Back at the end of 2019. There's a full delivery and blocked back to the bowler. There is no run, but it's got to be right up there as one of the easiest drop catches of all time. Possibly one of the least consequential, to be honest, but given how many England have already got. But it's the sort of thing that if India go on to lose this test, will be taken as a symbol. A little bit flatter and a little bit more bounce from Washington Sundar. Leach blocks it on the bounce to silly mid-off. There is no run. He's in there, the silly mid-off, along with a slip and a gully, as Washington is in. Tosses this up, a little bit of air given. Leach forward and blocks to cover. There is no run. Tidy over from Washington. Should have had the wicket of Dominic Bess. Didn't. England 5-3-7 for 8.
Yeah, a few more tweets. And Messi Jez has sent us a. Is that Anne Boleyn batting with Bess?
Elizabeth, surely.
Elizabeth. Sorry, that's very foolish of me. I am sorry. Who sent us these lovely pictures of lychees? With Lychee from MCG SCG, and yeah, this is the subtitle: Lychee, 2 delicious lychees. A picture of which is on to see on the Guerrilla Cricket.
Yeah, that works better because the Hindi for lychee is lychee.
And Warren, a very good morning, all from a snowy East Aurora. Is that the other side of East Finchley?
Somewhere in New York State, I think. Yeah, the eastern part and sort of midwestern part of the US having its snowstorms. Ishant Sharma nearly falls over as he delivers this outside off stump to Dominic Bess, who blocks into the offside. There is no run. We are seeing this, frankly, comical drop repeatedly, and really everyone just burst out laughing, including Rohit. Washington.
Well, you have to, really.
Apart from Virat Kohli, who just couldn't look at him.
Or Washington Sundar.
Oh, there's a smile there from Washington. There's nothing really left to do, is there?
That's all you can do. We do have an answer for England's highest innings test score in India. And it, funny enough, was in Chennai. So it's 652 for 7 declared. It was in 1985.
That would have been the game when Mike Gatting and Graham Fowler both got double hundreds. We've been talking about a little bit outside off stump, and Bess blocks into the offside, and there is no run.
Adelaide Barriers wants to correct you, Knuckle. The Denley drop off Joff was at Hamilton, not the Mount.
Thank you.
Adelaide, Barnes, that's an all-time first. You've corrected Knuckle. We run a competition where you can do that. There was we had a feature the other day. Did anyone stump you on the Ask Knuckle feature?
The standard of questions was magnificent. I have to say, a few got past me. The questions were superb. Really were. So yeah, some free books and T-shirts will wean their way out as a result of that. I have to say that New Zealand series did slightly merge into one to some extent. That doesn't often happen for me, but there was just a lot of Kane Williamson steering it down to third man for 4. This is back of a length, and Bess blocks it to mid-wicket. There is no run. All glorious, but not easily distinguishable.
Do you think we might revive that feature during this series? We've got a lot of lunchtime and tea times to fill.
Could do. I'm here almost every weekend day.
Challenge Knuckle at lunch.
Yeah, Rena Keita says but Carlos Brathwaite averages 45 in tests, but he has played only 3 tests. I think the way that he's playing in the Big Bash, the way he it suggests that compared to the players they did pick in that West Indies C team, I think you compare Carlos Brathwaite very favourably with the ones they did pick, Knuckle.
Ishant, a good Yorker. Well dug out by Dom Bess, because that was not only a good Yorker, but a little bit of outswing as well. Maybe Ishant just turned the seam round, and Bess blocks back to the bowler. There is no run. We get a shot of the Indian dugout when Bharat Arun, the much lauded Indian fast bowler, does an Oliver Hardy look to camera. I think they're showing the drop on the big. I think they're showing the drop on the big screen, and Rohit Sharma keeps being reminded of it. What bants?
It's one of those games where you're glad there's no crowd in.
Rohit back with his smile at slip, and Ishant again goes full, but this one swinging down leg, and Bess helps it on its way. Another little tickle around the corner, and Bess moves to 24. Nicely played, 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Dominic Bess certainly very competent with the bat, and he's played that shot nicely a couple of times, as Ishant Sharma has got his in-swinging Yorker a little bit wrong.
Yeah, neither of these are actually mugs with the bat, including Leach with this. He's just one of those you get really surprised that they've actually scored runs. And I don't mean it in a harsh way. You just sort of look and go, oh yeah, Bess is on 24 at the moment. He's doing all right. You can't remember how he scored half of those runs.
Mostly through that shot. They have now put a leg slip in place. There's also a catching short mid-wicket, as well as the sort of wideish slip in a gully. As Ishant is in down the leg side, and is that strangled down the leg side? No, good take though by Rishabh Pant for running down the leg side and handing it off, sort of like a scrum half, really. Speaking of the Six Nations, to the man at leg slip, and there is no run. Bess practices an entirely different shot to the one he actually played. England 541 for 8.
Big shout out to our friends in Spain, down in Valencia, Jerez near Valencia. Big shout out to James and Lucia, who are very much the posh and becks of the Costa del Sol. Big shout out, they're listening to Guerrilla Cricket. Thank you for keeping our Spain wing of Guerrilla Cricket open. And wherever you are in the world, just give us a sign off. Zahir Clark, all the way from Jamaica, the man, the statistician. 286 runs were scored today in the West Indies Bangladesh test, with 8 wickets falling. West Indies need 285 tomorrow to win, with 7 wickets in hand. Interesting. Well, there's the optimist. There is an optimist.
Ishant Sharma has just wandered into the pavilion for a bit of running repairs, possibly a loo break, as we close in on the end of the day. We've got 4 overs in theory remaining today, although this we are coming up to the scheduled close of play, so this might be the last over. It's bowled by Washington Sundar, who is in and blocks by Jack Leach. Back to the bowler, there is no run. There's a slip, and setting it off. Down the track comes Jack Leach and tries to launch Sundar over his head. Mid-off was up, fair enough. Jack Leach picks himself up 4 down to long off. I believe they call that taking the piss. Jack Leach, we know, has had... Jack Leach is a curious one. Jules is very much like he doesn't appear to actually have any shots, but then he can actually score runs. Famously, has a Test match 92 against Ireland. As he defends from the crease to mid-wicket, and there is no run. Although probably even more famously for scoring one and then not being run out. As Sundar is in, forward comes Leach, solidly blocked back to the bowler. There is no run. Possibly just two more balls left in this day, which has emphatically belonged to England, and in particular to the England captain Joe Root. Pujara in there under the lid, setting it off. He did used to field at short leg a lot in his the earlier part of his career. He's quite good in there. Back of a length from Sundar, and forced off the back foot to mid-wicket, and there is no run at 11:01 AM UK time. Very possibly the last ball of the day, as Washington is in. I guess this one to arc into Jack Leach, and he blocks back to the bowler. There is no run. No, India definitely want another over because they're throwing helmets to each other and are running down to the other end. So maybe we will get all of these overs in. 3 overs remaining left today, and it looks like Jasprit Bumrah is going to have a bowl. He's certainly taking off his cap and wandering with purpose towards the Patibiraman gate end.
Can I squeeze in some more tweets, Knuckle?
Yeah, go for it.
Nick Nelson says, wait, gorillas have wings now. This is becoming increasingly anatomically unlikely. Messi Jez says, the posh and Becks of the Costa del Sol is a very dubious compliment, Dave. Well, it was intended as such, if you like. But yeah, James and Lucia, the posh and Becks of the Costa del Sol, they're listening in. Avri Pandey says, as his sister, I'd like to claim the title of person who has corrected Knuckle the most. It's your sister, has tweeted in. Avni Pandey says that you're she's the person who has corrected Knuckle the most. Thank you.
I think my dad might have a lead, if only because my sister is younger than me. But pretty close.
And Nigel Stoneman is listening from Triana in Gran Canaria, so a real Spanish theme to end the day today. We've got listeners in Valencia and Gran Canaria, and maybe others that we don't know about in Spain, who will soon become famous.
Almost this time last year, sort of a year and a week or so, I was in Andalusia with my partner. Lovely 2 weeks that was. And then we got back and lockdown hit 3 days later. It was enjoyable while we had it. Bumrah into Bess outside off stump and poked at by Bess wide of Ajinkya Rahane at gully. Rohit Sharma a breakneck sprint that was never going to haul the ball in, and Bess picks up a pokey but fairly well controlled 4.
The number of the day. Who could ask for more? The number of the day is 4.
The gentle-ish delivery from Bumrah, and neatly prodded at by Dom Bess. Moves to 28.
A few bets for the day as well before we go. Grubby, we're going to need to get the nap of the day from the Grubster.
Suspect that the Yorker from Bumrah is not very far away at all. There's a leg slip in place. It does get a little bit of movement into the right-hander, and Bess blocks to cover. There is no run. India have used Jasprit Bumrah in short spells, 3 overs mostly, at most. As we see a gorgeous shot of the beach, which is a stone's throw, metaphorically speaking, from Chebok, right on the Indian Ocean. Gorgeous spot. I'd love to go. I really would.
Oh, you've not been to this ground, Knuckle?
I've never really been to Eastern India. Full stop. Got sort of 2 slips, or a slip and a third slip, and a gully in place, and a leg slip. As there is that Yorker, an in-swinger that Bess was waiting for it and blocked it to cover. There is no run.
Yes, it's got that very last over feel of the day. May not be, but it just seems a bit languid, a bit slow this over so far. Bumrah seems a bit half-paced. The fielding is a bit... I think everyone's had a bit of a day out in the field and sort of just on the slower bit. This is where a wicket falls, but it just seems a bit slow. What do you think, Nak?
I mean, certainly India have been put through it. There's also 2 men back on the hook in case Bumrah wants to bounce Dom Best. No, he bowls very tight to off stump, and it just skids along the towards Best, who jabs a bat down on it and just about manages to deflect it past the stumps on the bounce to slip. There is no run. I suspect that Dom Bess will be able to keep out too many more of those.
And a very good morning from Iowa in the USA, says Patrick Tarbox. He says, thanks for your coverage and updates to help start the day. It feels like we're still starting the day here, although it's been a great day of Test cricket.
Indeed. It's been a fantastic day for England in particular, and led by Joe Root, ably supported yesterday by Dom Sibley and today by Ben Stokes. This is a ball outside off stump, and Bess blocks back to the bowler. There is no run.
Mayank is surprised, Knackle, that India haven't taken the new ball with that for that over.
Well, I think Jules called it right, is that they were going to basically see how they went with the old ball when they gave it to Ishant Sharma, and they took a couple of wickets with it, and England have only just started to score some runs. I mean, there's a certain amount of, I guess, not wanting to flog a dead horse. As Bumrah is in, goes for the Yorker, ends up as a full toss, which Bess jabs into the onside, and Kohli fields at short mid-wicket. There is no run. England 549 for 8. It does look like we're going to go through and get these extra 2 overs in. No signs of bails being flicked off stumps.
Good stuff. I never understand, if you've got the light and you've got the conditions, play to your overs and not to time. It just seems a daft rule otherwise.
Update from Rawalpindi, Pakistan, of not too long ago. In fact, 5 balls ago, lost Azhar Ali, LBW, to George Linder for 33, which brought Mohammad Rizwan to the crease, joining Fawad Alam. Rizwan's on 0, Fawad is on 8. Pakistan are 68 for 4, leading by 139 runs. India are trying to finish the day strong to the tail. Washington is out of the attack at the Unna Pavilion end and is replaced by his senior fellow Tamil Naduite. Faced up against the spin. Here's Ashwin to Leach, who blocks into the onside. There is no run. 3 catches on the offside at slip, gully and silly mid off. In comes Ashwin, tosses this up a little bit too full, easy for Bess to Leach rather, to lean forward and block to cover. There is no run.
This is one of the better 9-10 jacks, that we've put out. I know Joffre didn't figure much today, but
there have been times where Stuart Broad's been batting 11 for England. Ashwin's now over the wicket to Leach. It's a little bit of turn from off stump, covered up in defence by Leach, and there is no run. I mean, certainly it's not the bad old days of the late 90s. As Ashwin is in, tosses this up outside off stump, but that was the leg break, I think, and certainly turn between bat and pad. Between bat and pad, Leach was not expecting that. Was playing for the off break and is beaten by a lovely delivery from Ashwin, rather ruined by the fact that it is a no ball. Oh wait, no, it isn't. Oh no, I was right first time. It was a no ball, so even if that had taken inside edge or gone back into the stumps, it wouldn't have counted. Next ball is a legitimate delivery, and is full and blocked back to the bowler. There is no runs. Quite a big no ball actually from Ashwin. Trying to bowl that front of the hand leg break, flicked off the middle finger. Absolutely nailed that, didn't he, Ashwin? That no ball, by the way, brings up 550 runs for England. Back round the wicket, so Ashwin's just using this as a sort of fancy net as he gets this one to drift into Jack Leach, who defends very uncertainly from the crease, and the ball nearly dribbles back onto the stumps. There is no run. Such a clever bowler, Ashwin.
Yeah, he is. I mean, Jack Leach always looks a bit uncertain when he plays, or when he bats anyway, but I think his time at Somerset is doing him well here with the spin that's happening, because this is a really, really good over from Ashwin. Yeah,
that was another leg break. Next ball is the off break, and it's defended off the back foot by Leach. Back to the bowler. There is no run. Just a no ball off the over. England 550 for 8. And we are, it seems, going to get that extra over in, so it'll be exactly 180 overs in 2 days.
Ask Knackle this one. Is it correct to say, Knackle, that if England bat out the day, they get to choose the heavy roller to break up the surface a bit more in the morning?
Believe that is the case, although I don't think that will really matter. I've heard quite a few people say that the heavy roller / light roller makes absolutely no difference. But it is true, yes, the batting team get to choose. I think the bigger benefit is that England can add some really annoying runs tomorrow morning.
That's psychological edge, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that might be why India have gone to Bumrah and Ashwin, very late in the day, because they want to just, if they get a couple of wickets now, then you can start afresh. Exactly. It just becomes easier to plan, doesn't it? You've got those 2 slips in place, or the sort of second slip in the gully, and the catching square leg and the catching mid wicket. A Yorker from Bumrah, perhaps a little predictable, and Bess blocks up to mid on. There is no run. This will be the last over of the day. Now, the 180th of this Indian innings, and we're interested to see the last time India bowled 180 overs at home, or anywhere really, given their attack in the last 4 years. It's been a while. England have done superbly well in this first test in Chennai. In comes Jasprit Bumrah, charging in still back of a length, and Bess forces this off the back foot into the offside. There is no run and no thought of a run. So what have we had? We've had... that's another no ball.
This is going to infuriate Mayank on the Twitter sphere, who says, seriously, what the hell is going on with all these no balls?
I do think there's some element of, we're seeing just how many bowlers bowl, because they're all being called 19 no balls now in this innings. The third umpire no ball is making a difference, and will probably lead to some considerable chat about how to eradicate them. This is down the leg side, not a great delivery from Bumrah, who hasn't had much venom in this little spell late on day 2, and Bess again able to nudge it around the corner for his third 4 through final. In fact, no, that was leg buys. In fact, it came off the thigh pad.
Jules, I heard you talking about this earlier with the no balls. You couldn't believe it either.
No, I mean, I do take Knuckles' point that umpires may pick him up more because of the third umpire, checking it. But it kind of eradicates the rare umpires there in the first place that were actually still checking for no balls prior to technology. I just think there's so much for one innings. What's it now, 16, you said? 17?
19, I think. This is down the leg side, and it's clipped by Bess with no power or timing into the onside, and there is no run. Admittedly, that's in 180 overs. But still, it is a lot, and 6 from Shahbaz Nadeem is a worry for sure. The left-arm spinner. England certainly put a lot of time into not bowling no balls in white ball cricket. They went 10,000 deliveries consecutively without bowling a front foot no ball in one-day cricket over a number of years because of the free hit regulation primarily. Did a lot of work. Good fall-in swinging Yorker from Bumrah. Bess blocks back to him. There is no run. Bumrah in semi-frustration backs the ball back onto the stumps at the non-striker's end. Jack Leach was not moving, so no chance of a run out.
The man who goes way... Sorry, Jules.
No, go on, Dave.
The man who goes way simply wants to say way. And Warren says, amazing hands of Ashwin, either bowling or massaging. And a Warwick Spurs fan, love your shows, listening to you from Yeppoon on the Capricorn coast of Australia. Thanks.
292 runs in the day. If no further runs are scored, then Des will win the GPL. Back of a length and forced by Dominic Bess into the offside, and there is no run fielded at cover. England 555 for 8. They started on 263 for 3. One ball left of this day, which has belonged to England, to Joe Root, to Ben Stokes, and perhaps some money belonging to Des. Last ball of the day, last ball of day 2. In comes Jasprit Bumrah, right arm over the wicket to the right-handed Dominic Bess, who blocks up to Ashwin at mid-on. That is the end of 180 overs, the end of Bumrah's 31st, and that is the end of the day, and that is a GPL win for Des, 292 runs. Admittedly, he did guess almost all of the ordinal numbers in the known universe, but you've got to speculate to accumulate, and accumulate he has, even if it is mostly his own money. So he wins £56. Woo!
Well, that answers your question, messages. You wanted to know who was in the frame for the GPL at 288 runs today. Congratulations to our winner. And we had a tweet here. The heavy roller is so overrated, and it comes from the light roller. Not surprised. And thanks again for your sterling work, says the light roller. I'll join you again tomorrow. And Mayank says that's the second day in a row someone has won the GPL, and Messages congratulates Des. A great win for Des in the GPL. We send our congratulations to you, Des.
Certainly is, and we'll go through the scorecard a little bit as the England balcony stands to applaud their spinners off. I think James Anderson clapping with the air of someone who's quite relieved he didn't have to bat tonight. We'll go through the scorecard very quickly. We'll get that up on screen for you as well, because we can do these kind of things now. So started today with Ben Stokes yet to face. He was the first to go today for 82 off 118, trying to slam Shahbaz Nadeem over deep square leg, but only finding deep square leg. Pujara taking a juggling catch. He went for 82 though, and it was a big partnership between Ben Stokes and Joe Root, a partnership of 124. Ollie Pope was next to go, but again not before almost 100 had been added for the fifth wicket. Ollie Pope LBW to Ashwin for 34. Then Joe Root finally fell. A magnificent innings, 218 he made, the highest test score by an Englishman in India. He is now the third highest test run scorer of all time for England, overtaking Alex Stewart in this innings, having overtaken Geoffrey Boycott, David Gower and Kevin Peterson in the Sri Lanka series. Not that far away from Graham Gooch, still away off Alistair Cook, but he is only 30. What I'm ready to mark his 100th test. At that point it was 477 for 6. Then there was a bit of a partnership again between Joss Buttler and Dominic Bess. 48 between them before Joss Buttler left a ball from Ishant Sharma, which jagged back to hit top of off stump. Then the very next ball, Jofra Archer played a ball from Ishant Sharma, which jagged back to hit the top of off stump. 2-2 for Ishant, who's bowled very well to day. 525 for 8 it was at that point. And then Jack Leach was able to stick with Dominic Best, who had some valuable and annoying runs, depending on how you look at it. Very valuable for England. One absurd dropped catch by Rohit Sharma aside. It was relatively comfortable, and England close on 555 for 8 off 180 overs. The bowling figures: Ishant Sharma 27 overs, 7 maidens, 2 for 52. Jasprit Bumrah 31 overs, 4 maidens, 2 for 81. R. Ashwin 50 overs, 5 maidens, 2 for 132. Shahbaz Nadeem 44 overs at 2 maidens, 1 for 44 overs, 4 maidens, 2 for 167. Washington Sundar not able to contribute very much in terms of either control or wickets. 26 overs, 2 maidens, none for 98, and 2 let's see what we can do overs from Rohit Sharma that went for 7. There were plenty of extras today for India, and yesterday as well. Plenty of no balls, a few drop catches going down as well. In fact, there were 19 no balls, 16 leg byes and 2 byes. It has been very much England's day. Let's have some final tweets before we sign off.
Well, just a comment on the day as well. For me, I think just that Joe Root, the run of form from Joe Root has been quite astonishing. And interesting stat: England have now made all 3 of the most recent 500+ totals against India in India, dating back to their series win in 2012. So, and a bit of controversy early on when Buttler edged Washington Sundar through to moments before drinks. We didn't walk. It's been a fascinating day of Test cricket to see Stokes and Root doing what they did earlier. I mean, Annie gave us a tweet earlier saying one of the best innings that she's seen Joe Root play. Masterful innings and fantastic day to watch. Great day for cricket to be back on free to air in the UK.
100% agree with that.
Yeah, indeed. And it's England are reaping the virtues of the patience that they showed yesterday, particular Dominic Sibley, but Joe Root as well in the first part of his the first sort of 50 runs or so of his 100. India haven't been completely worn down by any means, but they haven't been able to get easy wickets. They haven't been able to The change bowlers haven't been able to settle. The main 3 bowlers, Ishant, Bumrah and Ashwin, who have taken 6 of the 8 wickets, have had to keep coming back for more spells. And it's just got that little bit easier every time. England have exploited the conditions very well. And,
take nothing away, Knackle, from England's achievement. Let's go at stat again. England have made all 3 of the most 500 plus totals against India in India, and that dates back over 9 years. So that give credit to England for this first innings.
Oh, certainly, they batted brilliantly. Joe Root's innings was an absolute masterclass. It was a pleasure to watch throughout, and the way it was paced, the placement, the array of different skills on offer, playing seam, playing spin, brilliant. Slowing down when Stokes was going. Stokes looked like he could take the game away from England completely, from India completely. If that hasn't already happened to some extent, but we could have been looking at an even bigger score. Nonetheless, it will be very imposing for India's batters when they come up to bat at some point tomorrow. England still, of course, have Bess and Leach, and Anderson can play a few annoying reverse sweeps, and maybe England can scrape to that target of 600 from Joe Root. But all remains.
Jules, what are you most? Sorry, Knackle. I was about to ask you both. What are you most looking forward to about tomorrow? Is it going to be Archer versus Kohli? What's the big clash that you're most looking forward to?
I think with the swing that we've seen, I'd be interested to see how Anderson goes. I really would, opening up the bowling. So that's where I think the gem is in the next innings. That's guaranteed.
Anderson and Archer versus Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill. It'll be an absolute feast. And Cheteshwar Pujara will do Cheteshwar Pujara things. It is a good pitch. Let's see how much it breaks up. The 2 things I'm focusing on are that battle of the opening bowlers and opening batters, and England's spinners, to see how they go and see if they can create any pressure and make the job that bit easier for Archer and Anderson and Stokes.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating day. And are you back tomorrow, Jules? Knack will be back.
This is it for me for this test.
Oh, you're rationing yourself. Yeah, that's the 2 days.
Yeah, Hendo's back in the hot seat tomorrow hosting, but I'll be here doing my part and pressing all the buttons. We'll also be joined by Al Hotch again, Sam Dowling, who's made a very good Gorilla debut. Dave will be here. Annie will be here. Kat Jones from Australia will be here, and not Fred Titness as well later in the day. But join us again at 3:45 a.m. UK time tomorrow morning, 9:15 a.m. UK time for every single ball live of day 3 of the first test. But until then, from everyone here at Gorilla Cricket, it's goodbye.
Guerrilla Cricket. Whoa. Guerrilla